Chapter 76. Chapter 76 about I will become the president of a konoha company when I grow up. Besides the bell test, the life of a D-class mission is also very boring. Hyuga Hayashi didn't come back until the sun had completely set. Because Ryosuke promised at the beginning that if Naruto graduated successfully, he would treat him to dinner, so after his repeated persuasion, Naruto stayed and spent dinner time with them. Unlike in the past, the quiet dining table at Hyuga's house was different, and Naruto continued to tell what he had been doing during the recent genin time while eating. It's probably about cultivating feelings and honing in on the coordination of the team. The guest spoke, and of course it was impossible for Ryosuke to remain silent as usual. Yes, Kakashi-sensei seems to put a lot of emphasis on teamwork. Naruto nodded. During this month, although the three of us have the ability to solve every D-level task alone, he always insisted that the three of us act together. Speaking of this, he paused again. However, this month's running-in time is almost over. Recently, we directly received a B-level mission and needed to go out of the village to perform it. I don't know if we can come back smoothly by then. I thought, if I didn't come back, at least someone would remember me, so I came to see you. I'll definitely come back. Hitaki Kakashi is no ordinary genin. With his ability, it's easy for you to complete a B-rank mission. While eating, Ryosuke casually said to Kide, besides, although you are a rookie, your two teammates are not. According to your narrative, they have at least 1 or 2 years of genin experience, and they may not have performed B-level tasks. Naruto paused as he picked up his chopsticks. Is Ryosuke familiar with Mr. Kakashi? Noticed the subtle changes in his movements, but Ryosuke didn't think too much about it. He's well known among ninjas, and he's a very talented ninja. Really? Naruto nodded, and put the chopsticks together on the bowl. Actually, I feel that Mr. Kakashi's attitude towards me seems to be different from other people. Although as a guide genin, it is normal for him to pay attention to me, but I always feel that the way he looks at me is different from the way he looks at Rin and Yusuji, but there is no malice. As he spoke, he stared at Ryosuke closely, watching his expression. Oh! The expression on Ryosuke's face didn't change a bit, but he stopped holding the chopsticks in his hands. The dining table suddenly fell silent because of this question. Hinata and Hanabi who ate in silence from beginning to end. Ryosuke and Naruto looked at each other after stopping to eat. In the end, after observing for a long time, Naruto did not notice any abnormality in Ryosuke's expression, and could not feel his emotional fluctuations on this question. Simply, he confessed directly, and asked tentatively, Mr. Kakashi, did he know me from a long time ago, or, know someone related to me? He always has doubts about the existence and identity of his parents. Naruto is not a person who avoids problems. He is a person who is willing to face problems, deal with them calmly, and solve them. This is a habit he has gradually developed. Therefore, he is willing to explore this matter at the risk of being abandoned, or being purposefully produced as a reason for jinkriki and so on. But, regarding this question, no matter how much Naruto pestered Grandpa third generation, he never gave an answer as usual. He had no choice but to explore the truth of this matter by himself. But understanding this matter is much more difficult than Naruto imagined. He was exposed to very few things when he was in school, but even if he became a ninja, he still had no way to find traces of his life experience. Same as people. And at the age of 3, he appeared out of nowhere from the orphanage in Konoha village. Because Ryosuke once reminded him of some things, Naruto came to the door this time. In addition to telling him the latest things and saying goodbye, part of the reason was to learn about his own life experience. But unfortunately, Ryosuke looked at Naruto with a half-smile, and shook his head regretfully. I shouldn't know about this. It's not that I don't know, but I shouldn't know. Regarding his answer, Naruto lowered his head with a gloomy face. I understand. He knew what Ryosuke was trying to convey, so he didn't ask. But I have something to tell you. Seeing Naruto's expression, Ryosuke chuckled and picked up a piece of meat and put it in his bowl. Naruto raised his head again and stared at Ryosuke. Master third generation's body is very weak, and it may not be long before he can only be powerless to step down from the position of Hokage. Ryosuke also stared at Naruto. He thinks highly of you, and seems to hope that you can inherit his seat. But you are really too young. Whether you can become the 5th Hokage or the 6th Hokage depends on your growth. After saying this, Naruto's expression froze. Sarutobi Rin, male, 14 years old, Konoha genin. Grandmaster Earth-style ninjutsu, with strong leadership ability, is a relatively outstanding young generation in the Sarutobi clan. Yusuji, 14 years old, konoha genin, born as an orphan. Grandmaster medical ninjutsu, who practiced at Konoha Hospital in the village. Under the night, Ryosuke sat quietly in his room, reading the information collected by the Hyuga tribe. Naruto left after dinner. And he didn't start practicing right away, but retrieved some information about Naruto's teammates. 3 C-level missions and 1 B-level mission. With Sarutobi's talent and qualifications, he should have applied for the Chunin assessment a year ago, but it has been delayed until now, and he has been reassigned to become Naruto's teammate. Yusuji, this person's qualifications are mediocre, but he seems to be the adopted son of Yuta and Koharu, and she also taught him medical ninjutsu. With just a few glances, Ryosuke understood Naruto's current situation. It seems that it is because of guilt for the purpose of the 4th generation, or because I feel that I am unable to do what I want. After Sarutobi Hiruzen learned about Naruto's talent and heart, he directly made arrangements, and a broad road was delivered to his feet. I have to say that he really took good care of Naruto. As long as Naruto grows up and there are no accidents that affect his character, he can safely take the position of Hokage. I was assigned a Hokage seat since I was a child, which is something that many people in the village have never thought about. Judging from Sarutobi Hiruzen's current attitude, there is a high probability that he will help Naruto clean up the obstacles that may exist even after taking this position. But all of this has a premise, that is, Naruto's heart and character remain the same in front of him and do not make any changes. But, will he? Thinking of the question Naruto asked tonight, Ryosuke couldn't help laughing. In the end, what choice will he make? End of this chapter. Chapter 77. Chapter 77 Ninja's reaction speed. No rules, no limits, until it knocks me out of the fight. A dark forest that is not illuminated by the sun. Ryosuke and Hyuga Hayashi stand opposite each other like 2 tall pines and cypresses standing straight. Since he has not yet become a ninja, Ryosuke only wears ordinary body armor. And Hyuga Hayashi, instead of wearing a loose kimono as usual, put on a special Jainin vest made by Konoha village, and even tied up his hair tightly. He changed his previous arrogant and majestic posture, giving him a murderous feeling. So, have you started? Although it is said that the battle between ninjas is the winner is king, no matter what method is used. But after all, it was his father on the opposite side, and Ryosuke also wanted to defeat him openly, so he took the initiative to ask a question. Without getting an answer, Hyuga Hayashi had disappeared on the spot in the next second after he glanced at him indifferently. Chakra surged in his body, and his figure had already appeared in front of Ryosuke in the blink of an eye. And the white eyes on his face had already been opened in the process of moving. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Just like a mirror. When Hyuga Hayashi's figure approached, Ryosuke blocked it with the same movement. His white eyes also opened in an instant. Boom bang bang. There was a dull beating sound. After the second metamorphosis, although Ryosuke is young, the height gap with Hyuga Hayashi is not too big. The movements of the two waved their palms with an overlap of nearly 90%, and the remaining 10% was when they were aware of the opponent's attack rhythm and corrected their own moves. The attacks as dense as water droplets collided with each other, and the airflow, with the sound of collision between flesh and blood, centered on the two of them, turned into a cyclone and spread in all directions. Clatter. The branches and leaves of the dense forest wailed, and large pieces fell to the ground, but none of them flew within the attack range of Ryosuke and the two of them. Neither of them opened their mouths, they silently observed each other's demeanor, while predicting the movement while blocking the opponent's attack. In less than a minute, they have tried to swing more than 100 palms at each other, but unfortunately, they failed to press the first palm on each other's body to cut off the flow of chakra in each other's body. But that doesn't mean the battle will end in a draw. The two sides seem to be fighting back and forth, but in fact, Ryosuke's heart is slowly relaxing and sinking. Hyuga Hayashi, on the other hand, frowned and became more dignified. 50%. 70%. Staring blankly at Hyuga Hayashi in front of him, the white eyes in Ryosuke's eyes locked on all his movements. Swinging one palm after another, he tried to counterattack while blocking his father's attack. The strength of the whole body is improved little by little during the movement, slowly allowing himself to enter the best fighting state. Because he didn't know his father's ways and had no real experience in fighting him with all his strength, Ryosuke didn't use his full strength at first, but held back his strength. While observing his father's attack, he was also trying to numb his nerves. With white eyes, and in such a close combat situation, they can stare at each other firmly, no matter the external actions or the inner flow of chakra, they cannot avoid the insight and perspective of these eyes. So, none of them use ninjutsu. The interlacing of palms and palms, this kind of pure martial arts makes this battle a bit less like a battle between ninjas, and more like a duel between martial artists and fighters. Although there are many ways to win head-on, Ryosuke wants to use physical skills, so he is waiting for a blow that will be fatal and end the battle. He could feel that the strength of Hyuga Hayashi was weakening, but his own strength was constantly increasing. Because I used all my strength from the beginning, did the momentum weaken when the offensive was fruitless? Although I have some doubts in my heart, because the strength and speed displayed by Hyuga Hayashi, it seems that there is not much difference from the previous sparring with him. However, this does not affect Ryosuke's explosive strength. There were no extra words, the expression on his face remained unchanged, but the moment the palm was swung out, it was suddenly covered with substantial chakra. The dark blue chakra condenses into the shape of a lion in his hands, which is a secret technique passed down from generation to generation by the Hyuga clan. It requires proficient mastery of chakra's shape change to use the soft step double lion fist. The moves have changed, and the strength has been upgraded to ultimate. With a single palm swing, Ryosuke's boiling substantial chakra brought a gust of wind and swept it towards Hyuga Hayashi. But this sudden change relieved Hyuga Hayashi's frown. As if he had been waiting for this scene for a long time, he did not avoid this majestic palm. Instead of retreating, he changed his fighting direction with extremely subtle movements, and also swung a palm towards Ryosuke. His speed and strength have also improved, just now Hyuga Hayashi is also hiding his ability value. However, his action is not to avoid Ryosuke's attack, but to exchange injuries for injuries. Dodge the attack and fight back at the same time. Doing this will reduce the success rate of many successful counterattacks to win. Therefore, he chose to exchange for the more core chakra flow point in Ryosuke's abdomen at the cost of intercepting the flow of chakra on his left arm. During the battle, the thinking flexibility of the two of them was beyond usual. Although the thinking time seemed to be a long time, in fact, only a second passed. Whether it's Ryosuke or Hyuga Hayashi, the expressions on their faces have not changed at all for the next palm that is about to hit each other. With a cold face, they looked at each other. Since he wanted to surprise him just now, the range of motion Ryosuke swung this palm is naturally not small. It was too late to change his actions at this time. But, it is not uncommon to exchange minor injuries for major injuries. Although he didn't expect Hyuga Hayashi to be so reckless in the battle with him, Ryosuke still did enough mental preparation that he might encounter such an enemy in the future. Coercion. It is definitely too late to use Revolving Heaven, but Byun's coercive ability is already handy for Ryosuke today. Immediately, the chakra in Ryosuke's body surged and converged towards the eye sockets. His white eyes gleamed with a trace of translucent light. At this time, Hyuga Hayashi, who was originally calm, also reacted immediately. He gave up the palm that might end the battle, and galloped back. His body flicker technique reached ultimate at this moment, and in less than a second, he had already retreated more than 10 meters away. But also in the blink of an eye, there was a sudden roar around Ryosuke. The dust scattered, and the gravel shot in all directions like stray bullets. Although Hyuga Hayashi's reaction is already very fast, even though chakra attached to the bottom of his feet has reached ultimate, as a Jainin, his reaction power, physical skills and ninjutsu have all been brought to ultimate at this moment. But unfortunately, he never had time to withdraw from this area before the coercion came down. As if being crushed by a boulder, Hyuga Hayashi who was running was crushed to the ground with a bang, and he only felt that the bones all over his body were creaking. In the next second, a palm covered the back of his neck. "Father, I won." Ryosuke's regretful voice sounded. The battle only lasted less than 5 minutes. End of this chapter. Chapter 78. Chapter 78. As long as you have eyes like mine, you can also crush Jainin after all, still lost. With Ryosuke's support, Hyuga Hayashi got up from the ground with a face full of reluctance. The ninja vest he was wearing was already wet with blood, and the dense wounds all over his body were oozing blood. Although the amount of bleeding was not large, there were many wounds. These wounds were all caused by the body's unbearable bursting under the strong pressure just now. "I'll find someone to come over." Ryosuke helped him to sit by the tree, and was about to turn around to find the medical ninja when Hyuga Hayashi grabbed his hand. "No need, I've stopped the bleeding myself, everything else is fine." His tone was complicated and yearning. "Sit down, we father and son have a good chat." Hyuga Hayashi looked at Ryosuke seriously, keeping his eyes on him. Without directly believing his father's words, Ryosuke rolled his eyes, observed his physical condition carefully, and sat beside him obediently after confirming that there was nothing wrong. As soon as he sat down, Hyuga Hayashi asked impatiently, "Tell me honestly, did you use all your strength just now?" After hesitating for a moment, Ryosuke shook his head and replied honestly, "No, the chakra in my body is still full." Fighting with his own father, of course he was reserved. The expansion of coercion range and the reduction of power are caused by his deliberately suppressing his own ability. Otherwise, it is impossible for the father to suffer from such a small injury, and it is possible to directly crush the bones or even explode the internal organs with all his strength. After all, at that time, those weak animals were crushed by Ryosuke's coercion. After training, although the human body is much stronger than those small animals, in fact, his ability has been improving as he becomes more proficient. Hyuga Hayashi nodded silently, thought for a while and then asked, "I noticed that you didn't use illusion just now. Did you keep it on purpose? Or did you not realize it? You should be clear that if you use the illusion ability, this battle will end faster, although the momentum is not as big as your new ability. It takes time to unlock the illusion." The reason why the Uchiha family can fight against Hyuga for a long time is largely because their pupil technique has a great increase in illusion. Even with Byun's ability, it would take a certain amount of time to unlock the illusion. During this period of time, it couldn't be easier to harvest life at the speed of a ninja. And Ryosuke's white eyes have an illusion similar to Uchiha's. If the illusion is used, the battle just now may end faster. Ryosuke hesitated, "I want to beat you head on." As for his answer, Hyuga Hayashi was stunned. Actually, Ryosuke didn't want to defeat Hyuga Hayashi in this way. This really feels like cheating in the examination room. Although rolling eyes is part of his ability, he wants to defeat his father with pure physical skills. But it is a pity that he is still inexperienced, and the use of family secrets is not as proficient as his father, so there is no way to really defeat him openly. But it can't be said that he is not aboveboard, at least in this battle, he didn't use those small tricks. After a moment of silence, Hyuga Hayashi turned his head to look at Ryosuke, "You're still too young. Or, you don't care about me anymore." No, I didn't mean to ignore you." Ryosuke quickly waved his hands, "I just want to accumulate more combat experience for myself. You should be able to see that as a ninja, I still lack a lot of experience in fighting and fighting against the enemy. I don't want to miss this opportunity to be able to accumulate experience in a relatively safe situation." His words were sincere, but in Hyuga Hayashi's ears, it was extremely harsh. What is a relatively safe situation? Doesn't this mean that he didn't pay attention to his strength? Being compared by a younger generation, Hyuga Hayashi's mood is very complicated, both proud and helpless. To be honest, it's not that he doesn't know Ryosuke's ability. Whether it's illusion or the new ability that crushes like gravity, he has seen Ryosuke use it before. Recently, he has been thinking about how to avoid these abilities. But unfortunately, he didn't think of any way. This is his helplessness. What Hyuga Hayashi is proud of course, is Ryosuke's strength and his blood. Is this the white eye of our Hyuga clan? Sure enough, it is not inferior to Uchiha's Mangeki Sharingan. Although I don't know how many times I have been emotional in my heart, but this is the first time Hyuga Hayashi has spoken to Ryosuke like this. Usually, he didn't mention it, mainly because he was afraid that Ryosuke would rely too much on the ability of white eyes, just like Uchiha. But now, he felt that there was nothing wrong with relying on this power. In the battle just now, you have not lost to Jinin in terms of strength, speed, or reflexes, but compared to Janin's reflexes, you still lack some. Hyuga Hayashi began to comment on the battle just now. You think a little too much in the battle, and if you focus too much on tactics, it will slow down your reaction power. If you want to improve, you should focus more on developing your fighting instincts. But when he said this, he paused again, and shook his head helplessly. Forget it, the suggestions I just made are only for ordinary ninjas. I think you should focus more on studying your unique white eyes aspect. However, although Hyuga Hayashi denied himself, sitting next to him, Ryosuke said seriously to Kide, I will listen to these suggestions, father. As for the suggestion made by his father, he will adopt it. In the battle just now, he already understood what he lacked, and he will find a way to make up for it as soon as possible. No, you shouldn't listen to me, your path is different from those of us ordinary ninjas. But Hyuga Hayashi interrupted his words, "Our family has taken too many detours, and we don't know when we started, we gradually shifted the research on bloodlines to spells. I've been searching hard for all kinds of secret techniques and physical techniques that fit Bion's ability, but I forgot that we are actually a family of blood successors, not a family of physical techniques and secret techniques." He raised his weak arm and caressed Ryosuke's cheek, and finally placed it next to his eye socket. "What beautiful eyes!" Hyuga Hayashi looked at Ryosuke's white eyes with some envy. "Just such a pair of eyes directly gave you the ability to crush Janin. It's an incredible thing. Don't waste your talent, Ryosuke. From today onwards you are free, I will not care about you anymore, you are already a qualified ninja with me. But if you have any needs, you can also mention them to me in time. As long as there are reasons and evidence, I will try my best to satisfy you." Complicated is followed by relief, and only pride remains in Hyuga Hayashi's heart. Such a junior, and also his son-in-law, Ryosuke is getting stronger and stronger, and it's too late for him to be happy. End of this chapter. Chapter 79. Chapter 79. Money can really do anything. Although it is pure body art, it looks like a battle between martial artists. But in fact, the duel between Ryosuke and Hyuga Hayashi ended in less than 10 minutes. As if being fished out after falling into a pool of blood, Hyuga Hayashi took heavy steps, while stubbornly asking Ryosuke not to help him, while staggering back to the main house by himself. Ryosuke was right behind him, silently following him, watching his back. It can be seen that today's battle has hit father too hard. Perhaps there was an illusion that caused his worldview in the first half of his life to collapse. After all, the power of pupil technique is really a kind of transcendence from mortals, beyond the level that ninjas should have. But with such a power, the Hyuga clan has kept it empty for such a long period of time, and no one can exert it. Fortunately, Hinata and the others haven't finished school yet. When entering the door, Ryosuke looked at the astonished gazes of the housekeeper Aoyang and the servants, and thought to himself. "Master Ryosuke, have you been attacked?" Hyuga Hayashi returns to his room to treat the wound, and Ryosuke prepares to return to his room as well. Although he was not injured, some blood was unconsciously stained on his body when he helped Hyuga Hayashi up at the beginning. But before stepping into the room and changing into clean clothes, Hyuga Zinke hurried into the house from the courtyard. Immediately afterwards, after seeing the bloodline stained on Ryosuke's clothes, she entered a state of combat readiness for the first time, and even the white eyes on her face opened. Facing her vigilant eyes, Ryosuke smiled helplessly. "Don't be nervous, this is in the clan land, so I am in no danger." The news of his appointment with Hyuga Hayashi is a secret, and they also tacitly agreed to each other, and they will not disclose it to anyone, so he didn't get entangled in this topic and opened up the content. "But you came to me in such a hurry, what's the matter?" While asking, he took out clean clothes from the cabinet and walked behind the screen. After hesitating for a moment, Hyuga Zinke looked at Ryosuke's relaxed look and let go of her heart. While calming down the chakra in her body, she talked about the purpose of her coming. The tribe who went to the country of Bo to investigate the news has returned, but the situation in that country is not optimistic. Not optimistic? Simply put. Ryosuke asked casually, and changed the bloodline-stained robes. The people from the tribe have found out that both the political power and the people in the Kingdom of Waves are controlled by a businessman named Cardo. Although there is no specific evidence, he is probably the one who died of serious illness among those officials. The culprit. With his back to the screen, Hyuga Zinke spread out the scroll in his hand and explained, "This businessman named Kato is one of the few richest people in the world, and he mainly deals with shipping business. Because the Kingdom of Waves is adjacent to the Kingdom of Fire, the Kingdom of Iron, and the Kingdom of Tang, and it is located on the sea, so according to the investigation team's speculation, Kato probably intends to build the Kingdom of Waves into a shipping channel. Transit port. Although the Land of Waves is a country, its total land area is only a small island. It can't even compare to a town in our Land of Fire, let alone its national strength and population. This country is simply not capable of dealing with a wealthy businessman like Cardo. It is not difficult for him to control such a country, and the price he needs to pay is not too much." After quietly listening to Hyuga Zinke's narration, Ryosuke was not surprised at all. He changed his clothes and walked out from behind the screen. As a world-class rich man, there must be many bodyguards around him. "Have you found out the situation?" Seeing that Ryosuke had changed his clothes, Hyuga Zinke turned around. According to the information they sent back, Kato's subordinates are mostly rebels, and most of them are deserters on the battlefield, but these people are nothing to worry about. The point is that he is rich, and I don't know where he got the news recently. We Hyuga will take over the future diplomacy of the Kingdom of Waves, so we took precautions in advance and issued some high-priced commissions on the black market. As she spoke, a little blush appeared on her cheeks. Oh! But Ryosuke didn't pay attention, his attention was all on the wave country. He was a little surprised in his heart, knowing that the country of Bo will be taken over by us in the future. Does he still dare to try to occupy it and make us an enemy? Yes. Hyuga Star Color nodded, although he is just a businessman, he is really rich. Based on the assets he currently spends on issuing arrest warrants on the black market, it is already enough to hire 3 Jonin-level rebels. This kind of power cannot be underestimated even by our family. Is it conservative to estimate that he holds the power of the 3 Jonin in his hands? The smile on Ryosuke's face gradually widened. Hyuga is no different from Naruto's small team in the original timeline. At least in terms of prestige, they are much bigger than Naruto at that time. You must know that ninja is a profession, and of course there are some corresponding professional ethics. One of the most important points is how much money to take and how much to do. Like in the original timeline, Naruto and his group take the rewards of C-level missions and risk their lives to do A-level missions, which is relatively rare. It may also be in this case that Kado did not have time to take more precautions, and even evacuated the Kingdom of Waves. But now, Cardo's information is very complete. He obviously understands that their Hyuga clan will take over the diplomacy of the Kingdom of Bo in the future, and all the benefits of the Kingdom of Fire in this country will belong to their clan. But in this case, he still paid a higher price to try to resist. Where did he get the courage? Master Ryosuke, if you really want to go to the Land of Waves with us this time, I hope to apply to the Patriarch and gather more Jonin from the clan to carry out missions together to ensure your safety. After hesitating for a while, Hyuga Zinke said seriously after seeing the smile on Ryosuke's face, this task is not easy, I hope we can be more cautious. I understand this, and I will explain it to my father myself. Ryosuke shook his head, signaling her not to worry. In fact, in his mind, he already had many guesses about the situation in the Land of Waves, and the biggest possibilities among them were impossible to fight. Cardo is a businessman. And Ryosuke was also a businessman in his previous life. He knew very well what kind of character Kado needs to have as a businessman, and besides character, what kind of means should he have in order to become wealthy in such a ninja world? You find some more reliable ninjas in the clan. The number doesn't need to be many, 10 will be fine. Ryosuke turned to look at Zinke, after all, this is private work. Even if the village knows about it, as long as they don't go too far, they can turn a blind eye. Although this time, it is the Nation of Fire's compensation for our previous humiliation, but if the action is too big, it will inevitably make some people in the village think. So you don't have to pay too much attention to this task because of me personally, and consider candidates with the mentality of your usual task execution. As for the other Jonin, I will let my father arrange it myself. Thanks to the leader of the second pig for his reward and support, the first leader of the book writing career. Regarding adding updates, I can only add 2 updates, and I will add them when they are on the shelves. Not surprisingly, it may be 5, according to the previous practice of launching explosive updates, plus 2, reward from the leader, equals 7 updates. But after all, I am no longer full-time, and I don't have much leisure time for social animals, so I can only say my best. End of this chapter. Chapter 80. Chapter 80 Mission Command Uchiha Sasuke failed the graduation examination application. When Hinata is out of school, bring back a message to Ryosuke. But this news was expected, and it didn't bring much disturbance to his heart. This is the first time Uchiha Sasuke has applied for graduation assessment, but Ryosuke believes that he will apply again soon. The change of the ninja school system and the increase in the difficulty of graduation all indicate that Sarutobi Hiruzen or Konoha's senior management is deliberately restricting Uchiha Sasuke's growth, and wants to restrain him in a relatively stable environment. But Uchiha Sasuke is likely to change the situation in the original timeline, where he did nothing to participate in the collective assessment, complete the graduation assessment ahead of schedule, and become genin. This is what Ryosuke saw when he saw the future. Of course, there is another possibility, that is, the future he saw was his intervention, so Uchiha Sasuke was able to complete his graduation ahead of schedule. And in the absence of Ryosuke's interference, it is likely that Suzuki will still conduct group assessments with other people in the same grade at the age of 12 as before. This is the loophole that the time span is too large. The future Ryosuke sees is too far away from the present, and he doesn't know the small details of what happened in it. So the future he sees is actually uncertain, and it is very likely that it will not happen. Unless it's an undisturbed external factor like a meteorite hitting a planet. But to be honest, Uchiha Suzuki doesn't really have any ideas that Ryosuke would be interested in right now. So this news only stayed in his mind for a short time, and then it was thrown away like work. What Ryosuke needs to pay attention to now is the matter of the Land of Waves. Early the next morning, at the entrance of Konoha village. There was nothing to hide, Ryosuke and his group left through the gate openly. The apparent purpose of their trip this time was to complete the entrustment of the Fire Nation daimyo, and to assign the Hyuga clan to the Nation of Waves for diplomatic affairs. And secretly, they are going to take over everything in the country of Bo. Although Konoha's high-level officials may already know about this matter. But because of the invasion of the envoys of Cloud Shinobi village and the peaceful handling of this matter, they already owed Hyuga once, and this time it was repaid, so they just turned a blind eye. Master Hisashi, shall we go directly to the Land of Waves next? As soon as we left the village, we started a journey. The only one in the line, one of the two Jainin asked. After the whole team spoke, everyone except Ryosuke and Zinkai stopped and looked at Hyuga Hisashi in the team. Inexplicably, within less than 10 minutes of the journey, the whole team was suddenly divided into two parts because of one sentence. Ryosuke and Zinkai are part of it. And the other part is others headed by Hyuga Hisashi, including several Hyuga selected by Zinkai. Regardless of walking forward for a certain distance, Ryosuke stopped, turned around with a smile, and looked at the group of people behind him. The situation in the country of Bo has been investigated, and he has also gained freedom. Of course, the sooner the better to rush to the country of waves. Without him asking, Hyuga Hayashi had already allocated the corresponding Jainin to him last night. There are only two in quantity, although not many, but one is worth two. One of them is Hyuga Hisashi, Hyuga Hayashi's younger brother, Ryosuke's uncle. As the head of the branch house, Hyuga Hisashi is different from Hyuga Hayashi, because he often goes out of the village to perform tasks, so in terms of strength, strictly speaking, he is stronger than Hyuga Hayashi. And the other is called Hyuga Iroha, a Hyuga Jainin with extremely pure white eyes. Of course, this purity is extremely high, compared to others in the branch house. Both of them are the best of Jainin, and with the blessing of Bun, the blood inheritance boundary, they can be called the elite of Jainin. With the two of them here, plus more than a dozen people from Ryosuke and Hyuga Star Color, even if it is an ordinary ninja village, they have a chance to level up. But at the same time, because of the strength of the two Jainin, and one of them is the head of the branch house, the team that was originally dominated by Ryosuke had a short-term disagreement. As branch house ninjas, in terms of age and position, they are more inclined to listen to Hyuga Hisashi's orders than Ryosuke, an immature child. Even though the development of this child is a bit amazing, it is already about their height. Even if he is clan. But soon, the disagreement was resolved. Facing the other Hyuga people standing in line beside him, Hyuga Hisashi stopped and pondered for a moment. Ryosuke, what are you going to do? He raised his head and looked at Ryosuke, who was looking back at them with a smile in the distance, and while asking, he took a few steps forward to catch up. Behind him, other people looked at each other in blank dismay. Although they didn't know what was going on, they silently followed Hyuga Hisashi's footsteps, including Jainin Iroha. Hisashi uncle, I have already planned the specific route. If it goes well, we should be able to reach the border in 3 days. Facing Hyuga Hisashi's inquiry, Ryosuke chuckled to Kide, seemingly unaware of the brief scene just now. Then, do you have any plans for the possible ambushes along the way? Hyuga Hisashi asked again. Run on the road and rest for a period of time. During the rest, let the clansmen who can open their eyes inspect the surrounding situation to confirm that there is no possibility of ambushes or stalking, and then continue on the road. Ryosuke Kide. They asked and answered like this, and simply spread the plan of rushing to the country of Bo this time in front of others. Obviously, Hyuga Hisashi is handing over power, and he is handing over the command of the team to Ryosuke in this way. Everyone in the team can see this clearly. Although the others didn't know the reason, since Hyuga Hisashi did this, they didn't mean to refute, and listened to Ryosuke's arrangement silently. Hyuga Hisashi, on the other hand, secretly observed Ryosuke during this questioning process. Facing this smiling young man who calmly answered every question he asked, his thoughts went back to last night. Is the main mission to protect Ryosuke? In the dark night, the dividing line between the Hyuga clan and the branch house. The day before the start of the wave mission, Hyuga Hayashi dragged his sick body and met his younger brother after a long absence. Looking at his elder brother with some doubts, Hyuga Hisashi asked, "Who is Ryosuke? Why is it worth your effort to cultivate?" As the head of the branch house, he knows much more about the situation in the clan than many people. So, in fact, Hyuga Hisashi is aware that Ryosuke's status in the Hyuga clan is somewhat special, or in other words, it is somewhat special in the clan. Sometimes, he even feels that the real future heir of the head of the family is not his weak niece Hyuga Hinata, but the son-in-law Hyuga Ryosuke of this branch house. The specific situation, if you see it during the mission, then you will understand. But Hyuga Hayashi did not explain to him, but seriously asked, "One more thing is very important, if he really exposed his strength during the mission, please be sure to take all the secrets that may be leaked, the clansmen others will clean up. He is the hope of our Hyuga clan. If there is an uncontrollable accident in this mission, stop the mission immediately and bring Ryosuke back safely. Compared to the family, Ryosuke's life is more important, Hisashi, you understand the weight of my words." End of this chapter. Chapter 81. Chapter 81. There is an ambush. Expose your own strength? Although the patriarch didn't say much, Hyuga Hisashi still found some meaning from some subtle content. Hyuga Ryosuke's strength is not as simple as it appears on the surface, he has always been reserved, so he can make his big brother valued by the clan. And his weak niece was probably a pawn pushed out to block his sight. Especially from the situation when his big brother was injured when they met at that time, it is very likely that Ryosuke already has the strength of Jainin, or is approaching Jainin. You must know that as the patriarch, he has not stepped out of the village for a long time, and he can only appear when he is in actual combat with Ryosuke if he can be injured in the clan land. Hyuga Hisashi was blown away by what was included in just one night, just one conversation. Although he had to perform a mission today, it can be said that he didn't fall asleep all night last night, and the words of Big Brother echoed in his mind over and over again. 7-year-old Jainin, this is much better than Uchiha Itachi, Hitaki Kakashi. When they were 7 years old, they only had the strength of a Chunin at most, but Ryosuke already had the possibility to become a Jainin. Seeing Ryosuke who stopped, Hyuga Hisashi also slowly stabilized his movements, and asked, "Shall we start a covert operation from now on? It has been 3 days since I left Konoha and arrived at the border of the Land of Fire. In front of you is the endless ocean. For the next journey, you need to go by water, and you can only rely on boats to cross the sea and go to the small island in the sea, the country of waves. No, just go on your way as usual." Ryosuke chuckled and shook his head, "I was careful along the way, just to avoid some people who have nothing to do with the mission. It has nothing to do with this mission. I have other considerations about the situation in the Kingdom of Waves." Of course he was referring to the Land of Fire, or some people in Konoha village. He is more worried about the inside than the outside danger. Because there is no way to see through the short-term future for the time being, there is no guarantee that things will go smoothly according to his own analysis, so Ryosuke needs to be careful when someone is following him. Fortunately, there were no traces of tracking or ambushes on the way from Konoha to the border. It can be seen that the inside of the village doesn't seem to care much about their trip this time. As for Ryosuke's relaxation, although Hyuga Hisashi was puzzled, he didn't ask much. Along the way, whenever there is any problem, he will first ask Ryosuke what to do. On the one hand, it is to test his ability and confirm that he is really an outstanding genius, not a false genius fabricated by relying on the patriarch's own words and his conjectures. On the other hand, it also means to hand over the command of the team to Ryosuke. And in these short 3 days, Hyuga Hisashi did discover Ryosuke's precocious and meticulous thinking. The route from Konoha village to the border is led by Ryosuke, and he knows exactly which towns and villages each road will pass through. Even where to rest, and where to stop and rectify, he has arranged it extremely well, and it seems that he has dispatched his tribe in advance to investigate on the spot. Among other things, this caution is commendable. Unfortunately, because there are no enemies, Hyuga Hisashi has no way to see Ryosuke's talent as a ninja. But from the rush during this period, Hyuga Hisashi can still see that Ryosuke's chakra capacity and control ability are extremely good, definitely not at a level comparable to Genin, at least he is also a Chunin. "Master Hisashi, is it really okay for us to swagger on the sea like this? The rented ship is not small in size, and it is a cargo ship for cargo. Because Ryosuke said that there is no need to hide their whereabouts, they did not deliberately take a long detour and enter the land of waves through other waterways, but went straight with the land of waves as their goal, taking the most convenient and fastest route. The ocean is not like the land. There are many coverings to block the line of sight. It is really not like a ninja to move forward in such an above-board manner. As the only Jonin in the team, Hyuga Iroha questioned this. Look first, pay attention to the surrounding situation. Standing on the deck of the cargo ship, Hyuga Hisashi leaned his elbows on the fence, watching the scenery on the sea, and signaled him not to be nervous. You should have seen Ryosuke's arrangement along the way, his thinking is very cautious, he will not make such an arrogant mistake. Maybe he has other arrangements and considerations about this matter. Although I didn't ask clearly this time, after the contact along the way, I still choose to believe him. The Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Waves are neighboring countries, and the distance between them is not far away. Standing on the coasts on both sides, you can see the blurry image on the opposite side from a distance. If you can train your white eyes well, you can even see the shore of the land of waves directly from the land of fire. But he's a child after all. Iroha hesitated, but still refused to retreat, although he is your nephew, Mr. Hisashi, and the son-in-law of the patriarch, but he is a child who has not even graduated from ninja school. Since the goal is ninja, it cannot be considered by ordinary children. Hyuga Hisashi turned his head and patted him on the shoulder casually. It's a ninja's taboo to underestimate others, it's all Jonin, why do you still make such a mistake? Iroha wanted to explain something else. And at this moment, on the other side of the deck, a Hyugachnin who was in charge of guarding the surroundings roared, there is an ambush, whoosh whoosh. The moment his voice sounded, the sound of piercing the sky followed. Almost in the blink of an eye, several black shadows came to the side of the vocal Hyugachunin. The Hyuga people who have the ability to open their eyes have also opened their eyes and scanned their surroundings, including Hyuga Hisashi and Hyuga Iroha. They're on shore, ready to fight. Hyuga Hisashi's mastery of white eyes can be said to be the highest among this group of people. His current perception range has almost reached the ultimate that his eyes can bear. With just one glance, he saw what the ambush that Hyugachnin was talking about was going on. But it's not on the surface of the sea, nor on the bottom of the sea, but on the shore of the land of waves in the distance. A group of black people are standing on the border of the Kingdom of Waves, looking towards the sea. It looks like they are going to ambush Ryosuke and the others. Don't be nervous, although it looks similar, I'm sure they are not trying to ambush us. Standing on the top of the cargo ship, Ryosuke, who was pulling the rudder, also opened his eyes at some point, and was watching the distant land of Nami. And Hyuga Zinkai stood behind him silently, guarding him tightly. Ryosuke's eyes are much stronger than Hyuga Hisashi's, and he can see more things. Rather than ambush, he would rather call the actions and behaviors of the group of people on the shore, a welcome ceremony? Interesting. There was a smile on Ryosuke's face unconsciously. It seemed that Kato was not an ordinary businessman, he was very shrewd and well aware of current affairs. The speed of this freighter is not slow, and it may dock soon. Everyone, get ready to go ashore. End of this chapter. Chapter 82. Chapter 82. Is this going to be a hung-men banquet? The dark group of people were exposed under Ryosuke's white eyes without reservation. The group of people standing on the shore of the land of waves were just random fish, and Kato was not among them. Although this group of people are called wandering ninjas and rebellious ninjas, they are not very powerful because of the so-called wandering ninjas and rebellious ninjas. The so-called wandering ninjas are actually ordinary people who have mastered trivial skills. By chance, they have refined a little chakra and mastered one or two basic ninjutsu, but they cannot be regarded as real ninjas after all. Rebel ninjas are generally trained by professional ninjas, and they are more complicated than wandering ninjas. They are like ninjas with genin, chnin, and jainin. These rebels also have certain standards after leaving their respective villages and the ninja professional hierarchy. Like the Akatsuki organization and Kirigakure's 7 ninja swordsmen, they had a very high status in the original village. After becoming rebellious ninja, they directly became the highest level S-rank rebellious ninja, and they were noticed by the entire ninja world. And these renegade forbearants on the shore of the land of waves may not even have the so-called level. They were all weak people who retreated from the battlefield and dared not return to the village after being attributed to deserters. These people were unreservedly exposed to Ryosuke's vision, and the chakra in their bodies was extremely weak, and some of them were even inferior to the students attending Konoha village ninja school. Although Konoha's overall strength is at the top in the ninja world, even the students who have not graduated from the ninja school are better than many genin in the small ninja village. And the amount of chakra cannot be used to compare the strength of ninjas. But such a small amount of chakra may not even be able to release a C-level ninjutsu. It is really hard to call it a qualified ninja. This is a real ninja world. Of course, Ryosuke will not limit the character of any one person, including a character, based on the manga he has seen. Since he can see the strength of this group of people, Kato, as a well-known rich man in the ninja world, of course knows the strength of these miscellaneous soldiers under his hands, so it is impossible to send them to ambush. Otherwise, in such a crisis-ridden ninja world, it would be really difficult for a businessman who doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth to accumulate wealth beyond rivals. The cargo ship gradually approached the land of waves. Despite Ryosuke's reminder, Hyuga Hisashi and others have always maintained a state of combat readiness. And for this, Ryosuke has no intention of interfering. After all, this is their instinct as ninjas. As they got closer to the shore, the actual situation became more and more clearly revealed in the eyes of Hyuga Hisashi and the others. Gradually, they let go of their tense nerves. That large group of people in the dark did not intend to hide their thoughts at all. They just stood on the shore swaggeringly, not ambushing at all, but waiting for their arrival. This group of miscellaneous fish is undoubtedly sent by Kato, and his purpose is obvious. While at the helm, Ryosuke said to Hyuga Hisashi next to him, "Hisashi uncle, I will trouble you to come forward to complete all the following affairs. The first task is to figure out Kato's plan. What can be seen now is that Kato has no intention of being our enemy, so I guess he will probably try to win us over and cooperate. After disembarking, we will most likely be invited in front of him. At that time, he should negotiate terms with us. What you have to do is to strive for the best interests and let him wait." His tone of speech was very flat, without any respect for elders, and even a gesture of command. Hyuga Hisashi is not the same as Hyuga Hayashi. Although in terms of seniority, Ryosuke calls the other party uncle, but in fact, he has no affection for Hyuga Hisashi. After all, he was the one who had murdered Hinata back then. From this point, Ryosuke doesn't treat Hyuga Hisashi as family, but only as clan. "Are you trying to hide yourself?" "I see." Hyuga Hisashi nodded, agreeing to the matter without hesitation. Since Ryosuke was able to see the situation on the shore faster than them just now, his score for Ryosuke has improved a lot. As for Ryosuke's attitude, he didn't have any idea, as if it was a matter of course. As for the latter words, he didn't ask too much. Kato's purpose is obvious. As the owner of the branch house, although he is essentially a ninja, he still comes into contact with some profit-seeking tasks from time to time, so after Ryosuke pointed it out, he also saw the other party's plan. The cargo ship soon stopped on the shore of the country of waves. A wooden ladder was lowered from the ship and set up on land. Hyuga Hisashi, as the next principal, was the first to disembark. Then came the Iroha Jainin, and finally the Chunin of several Hyuga. Ryosuke and Zinkai are also mixed among several Chunin. "Masters from Konoha, please wait a moment. No unexpected scenes." After they all got off the boat, the miscellaneous fish ninjas who had been watching from a further place approached carefully. The leader among them walked while shouting in a humble tone, "We are sent by Lord Kato, and we are here to invite all of you to attend the banquet tonight." While speaking, he looked at Hyuga Hisashi with a low eyebrow. Although he doesn't know every Hyuga here, the one who walks in the front should be the leader. The Kingdom of Waves is a subordinate country of our Fire Kingdom, and we, Hyuga, will be responsible for all future diplomacy of this country. It seems that your boss knows about this. Glancing at this person indifferently, Hyuga Hisashi asked with a stern face, "Since you know about this, why do you still dare to stay here? Does your boss think you have the ability to wrestle with us, Hyuga?" "No, no, no. Don't get me wrong." The leader of the miscellaneous fish shook his head in a panic. "Our Lord Kato is sincere and wants to cooperate with you adults. Please move to the banquet for specific matters. Our Master Kato has prepared fine wine and delicacies, and we are preparing to entertain you all, and discuss matters related to cooperation by the way." "Sincere." But Hyuga Hisashi's face was still cold. "No one was there, and we have to go there by ourselves." "You said your boss is sincere." "This." His forehead was already drenched with cold sweat, and with so many white eyes staring at him, the leader of the miscellaneous fish was under great pressure. And behind him, his dark companions backed away for a long time without knowing when, for fear that a fight would really break out and they would not have time to escape. Our boss's original words are that he is timid and dare not come to meet the adults. He begged all the adults to show their faces and participate in the banquet. Regardless of whether the cooperation this time is successful or not, he is willing to offer a big gift to each of you, and it will be a meeting gift for you all. Under this pressure, the miscellaneous fish took a long time to explain what Kato said clearly with trembling. End of this chapter. Chapter 83. Chapter 83. They are all old acquaintances surrounded by a large group of miscellaneous fish. Under the terrified gazes of the villagers of the Land of Waves, Ryosuke and the others were brought to a small castle with an ancient history. The judgment of ancient history, he judged from the walls of the castle. The architectural style of this castle is a bit like Ryosuke's last life, a castle where nobles in the Middle Ages in Europe lived. It is obviously different from the Chinese-style pavilion where the Fire Country daimyo is located. It should be that the cultural inheritance between countries is different, which extends to the differences in aesthetics, architecture, etc. Entering the castle, the magnificent lights illuminate the entire castle. The bright red and noble red carpet is laid all the way up the stairs from the entrance. On both sides of the red carpet stood a row of beautiful maids in kimonos. This way, my lords, please. Among a group of rogue ninjas, the only person who can enter the castle is the leader of the rogue fish, and the others are all parked outside the gate. The miscellaneous fish leader bowed to lead the way, and at the same time quickly gestured with his eyes to ask the maid next to him to bow respectfully. The maids on both sides also respectfully followed suit. A soft welcome sounded in the resplendent hall. The clothes they were wearing were extremely loose kimonos, and the looming skin after bending over was unavoidably eye-catching, and the figure was even more attractive. The ostentation is quite big. It's a pity that from the beginning to the end, Hyuga Hisashi, who walked in the front, kept a straight face and looked straight ahead without any change in expression. And the other Hyuga behind him moved forward with the same posture. My lord, it was specially arranged mainly because of the arrival of distinguished guests. Usually, there is no such extravagance. Miscellaneous fish led the conversation awkwardly, trying to explain that this scene was all because of Hyuga's arrival. In his heart, he was focused on this group of Hyuga, secretly cursing that he was not a man. But unfortunately, Hyuga Hisashi ignored him at all, and walked silently, as if the words just mentioned were just casually. They didn't take the initiative to speak, and the leader of the miscellaneous fish who led the way didn't dare to speak. Everyone walked quietly along the stairs to the upper level of the castle. Ryosuke was also among them, and he didn't speak from the beginning to the end, following the big guy silently, like a little transparent. And leading the way at the front of the crowd, the clothes on the leader of miscellaneous fish were completely wet with sweat, and he didn't dare to look back at these strange people, as if he had just been fished out of the water. Finally, just when he was about to be unable to withstand the pressure, his legs gave way and he fell to his knees. The light on the top floor is like the dawn, making this miscellaneous fish lead the way to feel hope. His trembling thighs couldn't help but tense again, and he quickened his pace, wanting to leave this oppressive atmosphere faster. But at this moment, 3 tall and majestic figures suddenly appeared at the stairs, covering the dazzling lights, looking down at Ryosuke and the others below. Jainin, and still 3. These 3 ferocious rebels are the ninjas Kato hired from the black market at a high price. Ryosuke and others stopped in their tracks, staring at the 3 Jainin with a flat face. Akuta. Akutagawa-sama, Kinoshita-sama, and Odan-sama. The leader of the miscellaneous fish looked ugly, but he called out respectfully. He was about to cry, and he was caught between the two. He can no longer imagine that if the 2 groups fight, whether he will be directly penetrated by kunao first, or his head will be beheaded. But soon, he found that there was a fierce spirit in front of him. Jainin, who had always been arrogant and reckless since he was hired to come to this wave country, took a few steps back vigilantly, but he didn't speak provocatively. No. I didn't expect it to be you. Hyuga Hisashi. An exclamation sounded from one of them. Whether it is Hyuga Hisashi or others, there is no fluctuation, as if they have known the top area of this castle for a long time. There are 3 rebels who have been rated as A-level by major countries and whose strength is equivalent to Jainin. In fact, they did already know it. When they were some distance away from the castle, they had already checked the situation up and down through their white eyes. No matter how many ninjas there are, what level they are at, or even the architectural layout of the castle, and what rooms are there, they all confirm it clearly. So it's such a coincidence, Kinoshita from Uegakure, Akutagawa from Tsunagakure. Hyuga Hisashi seemed to know two of them, and said coldly, as for this Tangnan village. Dan. He pondered for a moment, as if recalling the person's name in his mind. But soon, he shook his head, sorry, I really can't remember which war I have heard of your reputation before. They are all old acquaintances. As the strongest ninja village in the past, Konoha has never had a relatively fair contest in any war. Inevitably, they will meet many elites from enemy villages on the battlefield. And Kinoshita and Akutagawa are the former elites of Iwakage village and Tsunagakure. Does Kato want you, to give me a blow? Hyuga Hisashi watched the three of them. Although from the position he was in, he was looking up from an angle. But in fact, his tone and posture were more like looking down on the three of them. No, Hisashi Jainin, you misunderstood. No matter what the original plan was, but after seeing Hyuga Hisashi among the people coming from Hyuga, Akutagawa and the others did not plan to continue to implement the previous plan. At least, they felt that no unnecessary conflict had been caused. You, hurry up and get out. Using his eyes to signal the miscellaneous fish to be the leader, Akutagawa said casually, we will lead the way next. Yes. After the miscellaneous fish stayed in the lead for a few seconds, with a relieved smile on his face, he quickly replied a few times, bent over cautiously, passed by Ryosuke and the others, and fled downstairs. This way please. Akutagawa Jainin, acting polite without looking humble, invited them upstairs. Kinoshita Jainin and Adon Jainin next to him followed closely beside him, their clothes almost stuck together. Although they were leading the way, the muscles of the three of them were tense all the time, and they kept a long distance from Ryosuke and the others, looking very vigilant. But it is a pity that their inner thoughts have long been exposed in their actions, and they are seen by Ryosuke's white eyes. But the scene doesn't look ridiculous. Ryosuke believes that they can see the body language of the three rebels in front of them, and the three rebels also know that their movements will be seen clearly. As combat-experienced Jainin, and two of them hail from ninja villages in the big country, these three are undoubtedly aware of Hyuga's supercilious abilities. It's more of a warning to behave like this now. It is to tell Ryosuke directly through body language that they are ready at any time if they are not willing to sit down and talk peacefully. When we came to the top floor, we saw a more magnificent decoration than the hall, showing a sense of luxury. Before Ryosuke and the others could pay more attention, a respectful and gentle voice sounded, "Welcome, Master Ninjas from Konoha." End of this chapter. Chapter 84. Chapter 84. You can be called Kato, I can be called Kato, everyone is Kato. Are you Kato? He has short silver hair and a handsome look with glasses on. Kato doesn't look like a shrewd businessman, but more like a scholar full of knowledge. Interesting. Ryosuke half closed his eyes. This Kato was different from what he remembered. Although it is a few years away from the original, the difference is too great. Because of the limiter that can continuously transform and accelerate growth, although Ryosuke is young, he is not short, so he is hidden among many ninjas and does not appear conspicuous. Yes, I am. Kato raised a kind smile, just about to approach, he raised his hand to shake hands with them. The three Jainin he hired held their shoulders. Master Kato, there is someone here. Akutagawa Jainin ignored Ryosuke and the others, and explained to Kato in a low voice about the identity and strength of Hyuga Hisashi in Ryosuke's team. On the other hand, Kinoshita and Adan were silently guarding. Originally, Kato had indeed sent them to give the Hyuga ninjas who took over the diplomatic affairs of the Kingdom of Waves some serious prestige, and then discuss cooperation matters to ensure that when the two parties distribute limited benefits, there will be no difference between the ninjas and the businessmen because of the identity gap. Too big. This is also the reason why Kato spent a lot of money to hire 3 A-level rebels. But now the situation is different. They did not expect that a mere fishing village in the land of Nami would attract such a character as Hyuga Hisashi, the owner of the Hyuga branch house. This is inevitably a bit tricky. There is no need to think about dismounting Maii, and even the matter of cooperation in the future, they have to reconsider. After all, 2 of the 3 of them have seen Hyuga Hisashi's strength, and they met head-on as enemies on the battlefield. Strictly speaking, they were all defeated by Hyuga Hisashi. Although it is not enough for them to give up this employment mission just because they met Hyuga Hisashi, if Kato insists on making an enemy of them, then they will probably choose to give up. Because although they have 3 Jainin, among the people brought by Hyuga, it seems that everyone is not easy to mess with, at least at the level of Chunin. And on their side, it can only be said that they are all miscellaneous fish. When the strength at the top is almost the same, the strength at the bottom is completely inferior to that of the backbone. This kind of death mission is still forgotten. Lest there be money to make, but no life to spend. As for Kato and others' attitude of attention and nervousness, Ryosuke and the others did not bother, let alone stepped forward, but stood quietly in place, waiting for them to explain clearly what they had to say. Of course, at such a close range, the entire process of the dialogue between Akutagawa and Kato could easily be captured by them using sensory ninjutsu. However, it seems that Kato was not intimidated by Hyuga Hisashi's name. After listening carefully to Akutagawa's narration, he nodded silently. Seemingly plucking up his courage, he approached Ryosuke and the others, strode up to Hyuga Hisashi, and stretched out his palm. It turns out that it is Hyuga Hisashi-sama who is famous in the ninja world, and he has long admired his name. I don't dare to be an all-powerful man. Staring at Kato silently for a long time, Hyuga Hisashi always had a slight smile on his indifferent face, but you are very good, you deserve to be known as a rich man in the ninja world. This courage is very commendable. Before on the shore, I heard from your subordinates that you didn't dare to see us, so you thought it was an idiot. To be honest, from the day I learned that everyone is coming, I have been carrying it in my heart, and I dare not let it go. Kato laughed at himself. At the moment everyone went to the island just now, I was actually ready for all the evacuation, and I have been paying attention to the movements on the shore. As long as you have the slightest bit of dissatisfaction with the people I sent over, and you don't have the slightest intention of negotiating, then I will leave immediately and take them away, so as not to conflict with you. He described himself as timid and sensitive like a rabbit in the woods, fleeing in panic when he heard any movement. This. Hyuga Hisashi continued to smile, and was about to say something, but suddenly changed his words. Well, it seems that Mr. Kato is a very serious person. At this moment, Hyuga Hisashi, who was originally calm, felt a wave of fluctuation in his heart. But this fluctuation is not aimed at Kato and the others, but Ryosuke. From the moment they entered the castle, all the people in their team who had awakened their bloodlines opened their white eyes and entered a state of combat readiness, which never closed. And he and Ryosuke too. But just now, Hyuga Hisashi could clearly feel a slight chakra fluctuation on Ryosuke's body, and the object was himself. Under the influence of this fluctuation, he uttered some strange words. Honestly, it feels amazing. He felt like he was being controlled like a marionette. However, if Hyuga Hisashi wants to, he can also try to run the chakra in his body to get rid of this feeling of being controlled. It's just that he didn't think it was necessary, he wanted to see what Ryosuke wanted and could do. This, what kind of power is this? Is it a blind eye? Hyuga Hisashi's mind was full of thoughts, he was like a bystander, watching Ryosuke borrow his body to talk to Kato. But I do have a question. With blank eyes, Ryosuke controlled Hyuga Hisashi's body and raised a familiar smile. Mr. Kato's appearance seems to be different from the person I know. You are much taller than I imagined, and you are different in appearance. This question was what he wanted to ask from the moment he saw Kato. The Kato in this world is not simple, and his appearance is very different from his understanding, so he is doubtful whether the scholar-like man with glasses in front of him is the real Kato. As for the illusion of using white eyes, just like controlling Hinata back then, control Hyuga Hisashi to expose your ability. It is because Ryosuke has been relieved of Hyuga Hisashi by virtue of the contact and judgment of the recent period. Although Hyuga Hisashi once had a murderous intent on Hinata, Ryosuke had a sense of repulsion, and did not treat him as Hinata's pro-uncle. But judging from the contact during this period, Hyuga Hisashi actually does not have a big rebellious mentality towards the clan. Along the way, Ryosuke saw his inspection of himself. It sounds like Master Hisashi knows a lot about our Seagull Shipping Merchant Association. Regarding this question, Kato's expression was obviously a little bit astonished, but he quickly came back to his senses and explained with a smile, actually, this point is not a secret in our company. Although the word Kato is used as a name, it is actually the highest position in our company. This ninja world is very big, and it is not easy for ordinary people to do business, so in order to avoid accidents, decades of struggle after losing the person in charge disappear, there is a rule within our company. That is, as long as you are named Kato, you will be the main person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce. In the company, there are actually 3 other people called Kato like me. I have also met the person in charge that Mr. Hisashi mentioned. Really? With previous life experience, it is not difficult for Ryosuke to understand the formation of this management system. But for the authenticity of these words, he feels that it needs to be verified. End of this chapter. Chapter 85. Chapter 85. This cake is round and big, of course not standing still. At Cardo's invitation, Ryosuke and the others sat down in order on a long table. The main seat of the table is empty, and there are only seats on both sides, a bit like a negotiation table. However, compared with the serious and rigid negotiation environment, the inside of the castle is obviously different. In the bright hall, there are all kinds of gourmet food on the table, whether it is flying in the sky, running on the ground, or swimming in the water. And fine wines are also extremely expensive brands that are sought after by nobles from various countries. In addition to eating and drinking, there are even entertainment items, and there are beautiful dancers showing off their postures in cool clothes on both sides. There are also geishas sitting behind the curtain and playing the crisp sound of gukken. It can be said that it is only within the scope of such a hall. The Kado in front of him is different from the original timeline, showing the incomparable wealth of their chamber of commerce vividly and exquisitely. You don't need to eat or drink. He didn't touch the food on the table at all, let alone glance at the beauties around him. Everyone on Hyuga's side had a cold face and sat on the chair with their backs straight. Under Ryosuke's control, Hyuga Hisashi had a faint smile on his face. Let's get straight to business. Because Hyuga Hisashi did not resist, but cooperated very much, Ryosuke used the illusion used by Bun without much consumption. With his current chakra capacity, it can fully support the progress of this discussion meeting. As expected of a ninja from Konoha, his professionalism is high. Clapping his palms, Kado flattered him indiscriminately, and then he got down to business. About Hyuga's lords, I've actually received the news early in the morning about the fact that Hyuga is about to go to the kingdom of Nami. But I continue to stay here, absolutely not to belittle you, or to make an enemy of Hyuga. My idea is to take this opportunity to cooperate with the master ninjas of Hyuga. As he spoke, he motioned to the surrounding maids to remove all the food from the table and make a clean table. Cooperation. Hyuga Hisashi kept a smile on his face. Tell me what's on your mind. Cough cough. Without explaining immediately, Kado coughed, and reached out to signal Akutagawa Jainin next to him to spread a map on the table. Standing up from the chair, he politely gestured to Ryosuke and the others to look at the map on the table. Although the Kingdom of Waves is just a fishing village with poor supplies and no population base, it is undeniable that its geographical location is extremely superior for us businessmen. Taking this place as a country, I think it's a bit of a waste of its existence. This island is in the center of countries such as the country of fire, the country of soup, the country of water, the country of iron, etc. I think it should not be used as a country, but should be used as a business center that transports input resources to neighboring countries. Cardo's description is very detailed. From the geographical location, to the subsequent development of the Kingdom of Waves, and even the benefits of this trade center to the economic development of various countries, he has laid it out in front of Ryosuke and the others in detail. It has to be said that as a businessman, his mouth is definitely in place. Even at the end, he flattered Hyuga emphatically, thinking that such an important hub that gathers sea canals from various countries should be managed by an ancient big family like Hyuga. If it is a person who has not received the impact of the era of information explosion, even the upper-class officials of this era may not be able to find the flaws in Cardo's words. They will be fooled into a daze, only seeing the immediate benefits and forgetting the practical loopholes. After all, what Kado said is too comprehensive and too beautiful, it is easy to get people trapped in it. But Ryosuke is different. Any investment is risky. The bigger the business, the bigger the benefits will be for the main envoy, but the consequences will be heavier. Therefore, when those winding and magnificent words reached his ears, they were automatically translated into a few sentences. This business is huge, covering most of the ninja world. Our Seagull Shipping Chamber of Commerce can't handle it here. We need some people to help take it together. And you Hyuga, as an ancient clan that has been passed down from the Sengoku period to the present, are the most suitable partners for us. Our Chamber of Commerce will help you earn enough benefits during the process of cooperation, and share some with you. But in this process, you also have to act as security guards to protect the safety of our Chamber of Commerce and become our backer. That's right, Kado's words were heard in Ryosuke's ears and transmitted to his mind, and it became like this. For anyone who has lived in the 21st century, one thing is clear. That is, there will be no pies in the sky, and when everything is harvested, it will also give something. In Cardo's explanation, there is no mention of how to share risks, how to distribute benefits, etc., some more important things. If Ryosuke's side was not a group of ninjas obsessed with fighting, but a group of fresh graduates from the 21st century, they would probably slap the table and leave now. In fact, this pancake is too round, too fragrant, and too perfect, so fake that people don't have the urge to pick it up and take a bite. Sorry to interrupt. Seeing Kato talking about his plan, Ryosuke couldn't help but control Hyuga Hisashi, and interrupted him. If Mr. Kato's plan is just one-sided, then I don't think we need to cooperate. I think you are not a qualified businessman, but more like an idiot talking on paper. Kato looked taken aback by Hyuga Hisashi's interruption. At the side, other people who listened with gusto also turned their heads with some doubts. It also includes the people on Ryosuke's side. A total of 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Hyuga Hisashi stood up and looked at Kato with a smile. I've been sitting here for such a long time about expanding business channels, and I haven't heard anything except how yearning and beautiful you are for the future of your grand plan. Something more to think about. As a qualified businessman, shouldn't it be the most basic to take one step and two steps in business, seize business opportunities first, and withdraw in time when the market is about to be saturated? If you don't have this ability, how do you do it? To this location. As for the risk, it's even more ridiculous. Shouldn't it be the essence of a businessman to avoid evil and seek good fortune? If the Land of Waves really develops into an extremely important trading hub in the ninja world as you said, then how many pairs of eyes do you think will be staring at this piece of cake? I don't think our Hyuga family is capable of confronting a big country. Even if we still stand behind Konoha and the Nation of Fire, we don't think we will be able to protect your Chamber of Commerce. To sum up, you are not a qualified businessman. I don't think cooperating with you will benefit us Hyuga, and may even bring us disaster. There was one more sentence that Ryosuke didn't utter through Hyuga Hisashi's mouth. That is, Kaduo treated them as fools and did not reveal some more core content to them at all. And if this sentence is really said, it will undoubtedly be a shame, at least the business must be blown. Ryosuke feels that this business is still worth talking about, at least Kato's plan is not impossible to implement. It's a pity. Sanjiang has blown it, and it is only one step away from the previous book. It will be on the shelves next week with a high probability. I hope you can support it. Woo woo woo. End of this chapter. Chapter 86. Chapter 86. Snow flowers are fluttering, the north wind is rustling. With those words, both Kato and Hyuga Hisashi, who couldn't control his body for the time being, were all surprised. They didn't really think about how a ninja would delve into these things. Cultivation, fighting, and death are the main themes of ninjas, aren't they? However, following Ryosuke's words, Kato raised his importance to them. He first apologized solemnly, and then re-explained his future plans for the country of Wave. And Ryosuke didn't point out his previous behavior. Because of this business, he thought it could be done. Then, happy cooperation. Concluding this meeting emphatically, Hyuga Hisashi smiled and shook hands with Kato. I will truthfully convey your plan to Lord Third Hokage and my daimyo. I believe they will also attach great importance to this cooperation. I also hope that during the next meeting, other collaborators will appear on this table. This plan is grand and huge. The Hyuga clan will definitely not be able to eat it, at least for now. They are not willing to be the top bird and act in a high-profile manner. So this time, regarding the plan to develop the country of Nami into a ninja trading center, they plan to return to China first and report to Hokage and the daimyo for confirmation. At that time, although the part allocated to them for Hyuga will be less, but with the support of the village and the country, there is no doubt that the pressure will be much easier, and the effort is directly proportional to the return. And during this confirmation time, Ryosuke thinks that more partners can be found. After all, this is an era full of wars. If there are no more collaborators to escort this plan, it is almost confirmed that this place will become the target of public criticism and be watched by countless pairs of eyes. Konoha is no longer the Konoha it used to be. They are a country of fire, but they can't suppress the entire ninja world. I will arrange manpower as soon as possible and contact the daimyos of other countries to ensure the establishment of this alliance. Kato also had a smile on his face. Compared with those brutal and ruthless ninjas, this Hyuga Hisashi is not easy to fool, but it gives him a feeling good. Although there are not many witnesses present at the moment, he believes that this scene will become a major meeting in the history of the ninja world. At least, the Kingdom of Waves is likely to become a peaceful country like the Iron Kingdom during their handshake. Unlike the Iron Country, which is a country of warriors, this place will become a country of merchants, a paradise for merchants. So now, is it time to enjoy our dinner? After finishing the business, Kato had a meaningful smile on his face, and the maids beside him also stepped forward slowly. No, in the next time, we plan to go around the land of waves, and we will say hello to you when we leave. But Ryosuke still rejected his proposal. Also, the clansmen we sent here by Hyuga to investigate seem to be entertained by you. I think we should go and meet them first. He looked at Kato and the others with a half smile. And the three rebels who had already calmed down immediately tensed up. The people Ryosuke sent over to investigate the situation were not powerful elites. Of course, they were captured without accident by the three Janins hired by Kato. Fortunately, they were not harmed, but were placed under house arrest. This is also one of the important reasons why Ryosuke and the others can sit down and discuss cooperation. Of course, of course. Cardo smiled awkwardly, although I didn't confirm the cooperation before, as long as it is possible to become friends, I am willing to spend time and money to entertain. I have always arranged for them the best rooms, and the best food and wine to entertain them. It must not be much worse than when they are in their own home. While talking, he hurriedly motioned to Akutagawa next to him to lead the way. No, we know where it is. At this time, Ryosuke has withdrawn his illusion. And during the entire negotiation process, Hyuga Hisashi, who has been acting as an audience, connected his actions without any violation. Under the eyes of our family, there is nothing that can be hidden. He pointed his eyes with two fingers, and there was a hint of danger in his tone. Different people have different auras. Kato, who originally thought Hyuga Hisashi was easy to talk and gentle, all of a sudden his hairs stood on end, like a deer being stared at by a hungry wolf. He took a step back instinctively. How it is when you come, and how it is when you go out. Ryosuke and the others didn't have the slightest trace of fighting. Cardo kept sending them to the gate of the castle before stopping. But although he didn't follow, he still called a few beautiful maids and asked them to wait behind Ryosuke and the others so that they could greet them at any time. Are we really going to work with him? It wasn't until leaving the range of the castle that Hyuga Hisashi suddenly spoke and asked Ryosuke. As for the maids following behind them, they had already been thrown away. Ryosuke smiled lightly, and said, I think the conversation just now has clearly explained the situation, Hisashi uncle. Cooperating with Kato is not a bad thing. I think both Fire Nation and Konoha will agree. Keeping peace is not an easy task, especially among the ninjas. It is not once or twice that the allies have torn up the covenant. Compared to words and agreements, perhaps our alliances with other countries need to have some more complicated bridges, such as substantive interests. In the list of cooperation he proposed, in addition to the small countries such as the country of iron, the country of soup, and the country of bears, there is also their ally, the country of wind. The alliance between the nation of fire and the nation of wind was concluded after the Third Ninja World War. But this alliance is not strong. Rather than establishing diplomatic relations, it is better to say that they had to unite because of the pressure of other big countries. Once the balance of the five major powers changes, this alliance will soon be torn apart. Therefore, this time, if the commercial alliance can really be reached with the help of the Maritime Chamber of Commerce, then in the future, their alliance will be stronger, and other countries will not dare to easily start a war. Konoha will not give up this opportunity. As for the conversation between Ryosuke and Hyuga Hisashi, the other Hyuga people next to him were a little confused. They don't understand why Hyuga Hisashi, who was in charge of the negotiation just now, would ask Ryosuke, who has not spoken, in turn. Can Master Ninja from Konoha? Hyuga Hisashi wanted to continue to ask something. The loud voice suddenly sounded beside the street. An ordinary man with a hedgehog head and dressed as a fisherman emerged from the crowd and ran towards Ryosuke and the others. And before he even had time to get close, he was captured by a Hyuga Chunin, who pressed his shoulders to restrict his movements. Ninja-sama of Konoha, please save our land of waves. Although he is a tall and thick man who looks very strong, but in the hands of that Hyuga Chunin, he is like a child who can't exert his strength. Let him go. Ryosuke replied casually, looking at him with a smile, what is your name, and why do you ask us for help? In his heart, he had some guesses about the identity of this man. My name is Gai Sha and I'm a fisherman. End of this chapter. Chapter 87. Chapter 87. The Fall of the Kingdom of Waves. It seems that due to professional preference, Gaisha's home is built on a small lake. Aiming at the wooden house in the center of the lake, Ryosuke and the others set foot on the road built with wood. Gaisha. The name is no stranger. Although he was just a character in the original timeline, who only appeared in memories, with Ryosuke's current thinking flexibility, he still clearly remembers him. Father. A childish and pleasant voice sounded from the room. A cute-looking child in a fisherman hat ran out of the house and rushed to Gaisha. Why did you come back so early today? I thought. He just opened his mouth to say something, but when he got closer, he noticed that there were many strangers beside his stepfather. And it's a scary-looking, weird-looking person. Therefore, his footsteps stopped beside the wooden house, not daring to go forward. Inari. Don't disturb your father. Immediately afterwards, another gentle voice sounded from inside the house. A beautiful woman came out of the room with a look of anticipation on her face. But then, when she saw the ninjas beside her husband, a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. She took a step forward, pulled her son behind her, hesitated and said, Gaisha. Tsunami, this is the ninja-sama from Konoha. Paying attention to his wife's movements, Gaisha hurriedly explained, that despicable and shameless businessman Kaduo has forcibly occupied the territory of our Kingdom of Waves and forced us to work for him. The ninjas from the Kingdom of Fire will definitely help us with this matter. It's up to you. Ah. I'm sorry. My action just now was rude. Before Ryosuke and the others could speak, Tsunami bowed without hesitation, apologizing for her actions just now. You don't have to be so polite. The Kingdom of Bo is a subordinate country of our Fire Kingdom, and we will definitely give you an explanation. Facing their solemn expressions, Hyuga Hisashi coughed with some guilt in his heart, and stood up to answer, actually, we just negotiated this with Kato. If all goes well, this territory will be under the jurisdiction of Kaduo in the future, and our country of fire will become his partner. At this moment, Ryosuke, who had been silent all this time, interrupted him and walked out from the crowd, and I deeply sympathize with what happened to you before. But it's a pity that you only have two choices now. The first one is to become a member of our country of fire. As a citizen of our country of fire, you will receive the same treatment as all people of the country of fire. Shelter. And the second choice is to become a slave under Kaduo and work for him in the future. His tone was very gentle, and his expression was the same as usual. But everyone present could feel the coldness and cruelty in the words. Seeing the astonished Gaisha family of three, Ryosuke paused, and continued, the same goes for other people in your country. Now let's start with your family. I can guarantee that the decisions you make will be made truthfully. Rather than concealing it, it is better to speak clearly in a few words. Ryosuke doesn't feel that there is anything wrong with his decision, at least, if they are willing to accept becoming the citizens of the Fire Nation, life will definitely be more stable than before. Changing nationality is not easy in any world, especially in a big country like theirs. And he doesn't know about other people's family, but Ryosuke knows very well that if he doesn't come to this family in front of him, Gaisha will be publicly executed by Kato after a while. Immediately afterwards, pain and numbness will engulf this country, or this fishing village for many years until Naruto and the others graduate, and they will be redeemed and released. But now, Naruto's fate has changed, and it is very likely that the Kingdom of Wave will always be under Kato's control in the days to come, unable to escape. Unless there is a savior, or, a more greedy and powerful jackal, they will be able to get rid of Kato. Facing Ryosuke's words and the obedience of the others behind him, Gaisha could see that the identity of the speaker was unusual. He suppressed the panic in his heart, and smiled stiffly, but our Kingdom of Waves is a subordinate country of the Kingdom of Fire, and we pay a lot of tribute every year. In fact, your country's annual tribute is less and less every year. Although every time your nobles lie about the lack of food production and the empty treasury, they actually enjoy and squander a lot. But Ryosuke interrupted his words, but because the Kingdom of Waves is too small, and the things that have always been tributes are too common, we in the Kingdom of Fire don't pay much attention to it, so we ignore these deceptions. As for our coming here this time, it is entirely because of some other reasons. I can tell you very clearly that originally, the Nation of Fire will not take care of this matter. Then, let's make a choice now, whether you want to avenge this useless country and those nobles who only want to enjoy themselves, or choose to become a citizen of our Fire Nation and become a member of us. After finishing speaking, he quietly waited for Gaisha's decision. Ryosuke is telling the truth. If the timeline hadn't changed, the Fire Nation wouldn't have sent any help at all. He is not a Madonna, nor is he particularly philanthropic. Ryosuke's love is very selfish, and his kindness is very, very rare, and he can only give to those who he values. For others, it is really difficult for him to give unconditionally without asking for anything in return. To give these people a chance to choose, he has done his best. Watching Ryosuke's eyes, the atmosphere gradually froze. Gaisha clenched his fists, a little hesitant. He didn't know how absurd the top level of this country was before. All he knew was that their lives had always been peaceful. And this tranquility was broken by Kaduo, a big villain. But now, the Kingdom of Fire, as their backer, wants them to bow down to Kato. What's the reason? Facing his silence, behind him, Tsunami couldn't help stretching out her palm gently, and clenched his fist. Gaisha. Wenwan woke Gaisha up with a worried voice. He was stunned for a moment, then turned around in a little confusion, and looked at his wife and children. For a long time, the fist he had been clenched tightly loosened. The nobles and guards of the Kingdom of Waves have been wiped out by Kato. The rest are just some civilians. The one with the highest voice among these people is the Gaisha family. And under the leadership of Gaisha, every family in this village made the right choice, that is, to join the Land of Fire and give up this incompetent country. Yes, incompetent state. It took less than half a day to wander around the whole country of waves. In the evening, of course, they temporarily stayed in the Land of Waves. Everything that happened today has caused quite a shock to this fishing village. The whole village is dead silent, without a shred of light. Ryosuke leaned against the window, staring at the beautiful moonlight. After a long time, he shook his head helplessly. Born in sorrow and dying in peace, in such a ninja world, I didn't expect there to be such naive nobles in the Kingdom of Waves. In such a cruel ninja world, stagnant progress is a form of self-elimination. The incompetent nobles of the Land of Waves created a harmonious and stable atmosphere in the country, allowing everyone to fall into a short-lived peace. But in fact, that is just an illusion due to the small population. The people here have always been exploited. The coins and food they paid were all laughed at by the nobles and used for pleasure, without any effect on the development of this country. And the result of this is the demise of the Kingdom of Waves today. End of this chapter. Chapter 88. Chapter 88. Seeing through the future again, my lord, those ninjas in Konoha village seem to be very familiar with our Chamber of Commerce. The leader, Hyuga Hisashi, seems to have seen you before, and he can clearly describe your appearance. According to the secret system of our Chamber of Commerce, I just found a reason to fool you. Furthermore, for an ancient family like Hyuga, I think we can no longer look at them from the perspective of ordinary ninjas. They also understand the way of merchants, and even put forward a lot of opinions on the development plan you made. Indistinct. There is no antecedent, only images. Standing on a sunny green lawn, Ryosuke looked at the three people in front of him with confused eyes. One of them was Kato he had seen in the Land of Waves. And the other one was a short, fat man wearing black sunglasses and lying under a large parasol. This fat man looked quite old, with grey hair and a bloated figure, which made people worry that he would crush the recliner under him. At this time, he was being served by the maid, listening to the report of Kato next to him comfortably. Is that so? It seems that it's not convenient for me to show my face in the future. In this case, I will give you the full power to handle matters concerning the Kingdom of Waves. This well-known fat man turned his head to look at Kato, shaking the cigar between his fingers. This time the plan is very important. If this business alliance can really be achieved, our Maritime Chamber of Commerce will no longer just an ordinary merchant association. With the protection of those ninjas, coupled with the minds of our businessmen, maybe we can create a super business empire that has never existed since ancient times, a country that belongs to businessmen. I entrust you with this matter because I value you. Remember that there are two competitors behind you. If you want the name Kaduo, you must not go wrong this time. Do you understand? Next to the sea, in a wooden house that looks like a sea view villa, there is one of the guest bedrooms. Hazy like a dream. When Ryosuke woke up, his head felt a little groggy. I didn't sleep well this time, and I didn't have the refreshing feeling after a normal sleep. Thump thump. There was a knock on the door. Ryosuke, it's time to get up, there are only 15 minutes until the scheduled time to return to the village. Hyuga Hisashi's voice came into the house, reminding him. Resisting the confusion in his mind, Ryosuke sat up from the bed and replied flatly, I know. Then, he got out of bed while feeling the changes in his body. There is no doubt that in his sleep last night, he once again used the ability to see through the future, and it was unconscious. This time, he still couldn't grasp the prerequisites for using this ability. And this also means that Ryosuke can only see through the future passively, but cannot independently choose whose future he wants to see through. The first thing you do when you wake up is, of course, take a shower. Coming to the bathroom, Ryosuke looked at himself in the mirror. Depressed, seems to be in a bad state of mind. Seeing through the future consumes vitality, this is something Ryosuke knew from the first time he used his ability, so he didn't panic about the situation in front of him. Kato. In his mind, he slowly recalled yesterday's dream. There is no doubt that the short man wearing black sunglasses is the real Kato, and judging from their conversation, this time the future see-through, the time span is not very large, it should have happened after Ryosuke left matter. And Kato's location is definitely not in the country of waves, it is most likely in a nearby country. And the biggest possibility is Tang country. Among the many countries in the ninja world, Tang country pays the most attention to the development of entertainment, so many nobles and businessmen like to go to that country to spend money and enjoy life. However, it doesn't make much sense for Ryosuke to see through Kato's future. It doesn't matter whether the person he saw in the land of waves is Kato or not. The most important thing is that this time the plan can be completed. If this time a multinational alliance bound by actual interests is reached, the entire ninja world will usher in a huge shock. It is likely that the other remaining great powers will follow suit and form alliances. At that time, the structure of the ninja world will change, and the era of peace will last longer. After all, a war will affect the overall interests of the alliance. So it is impossible to be like now, it is just a country, and it is easy to mobilize from top to bottom. Moreover, when all countries are united, it is not easy for people organized by Akatsuki to disrupt the ninja world. The timeline has been altered and completely broken. In the original plot, most of the development is actually carried out with the protagonist Naruto. And now that the protagonist has graduated early, even Uchiha Sasuke, the male second, has to make changes. Ryosuke can't guarantee that he will have such a long time to practice steadily and improve his strength. If a war breaks out before he has fully grown up, then Kagaiji will be sealed as in the original timeline, it is really hard to say. Therefore, he can only plan by himself and buy more time for himself. When Ryosuke finished washing and getting dressed and left the house, other Hyuga people were already waiting for him outside the house. Today's weather is fine, but Ryosuke is not in a good mood because of his tired relationship. But his mood change, of course, will not show on his face. Master Ryosuke, did you not rest well last night? Oncoming is Hyuga Zinke, who has been almost inseparable since leaving the village. She looked at Ryosuke's tired face, full of worry. And Hyuga Hisashi, who stood a little farther away, but always paid attention to Ryosuke's side, also hurriedly frowned and walked over. Is it because of yesterday's ability? He asked vaguely. Hyuga Hisashi thinks that only he in the team knows Ryosuke's supercilious ability. But there is actually another person who knows this situation, and that is Hyuga Zinke. It's okay, let's go quickly. Ryosuke shook his head helplessly, a little unaccustomed to their attention. Because of such importance, it is easy for him to become the center of the crowd. Just like now, whether it is the other Hyuga clansmen, or Kato who came to see him off, they all focus on Ryosuke. Especially Kato, his eyes lingered on Ryosuke, full of curiosity. Hyuga Hisashi's performance yesterday was so amazing that by the end of the meeting, he only noticed Hyuga Hisashi, but he had no impression of others. It was also today that he discovered that there was a rather special person in Hyuga's team. As for the special reason, it was because Kato remembered that the tired-looking Hyuga in front of him seemed to have been in an absolutely safe position since the first meeting yesterday, protected by others. Although they all deliberately wanted to avoid this move, from the details of each action such as sitting down and getting up at that time, their bodies subconsciously wanted to protect this person. End of this chapter. Chapter 89. Chapter 89. The world is dark. When Ryosuke appeared in this world, and appeared as the Konoha clan, the Hyuga clan, it would definitely have an impact on the timeline of this world. Instead of letting time develop in an uncontrollable posture, it is better to fiddle with it a little, so that it can be roughly grasped within a controllable range. When I returned to the village, it was already 3 days later. Because they were conveying important information, they unconsciously slowed down a bit. Before leaving, Ryosuke also warned Kato not to be rude to the civilians of the Kingdom of Waves, and let them live like slaves as before. Although they had promised to let them immigrate to the land of fire, they still had to get permission from the daimyo. As soon as he returned to the village, Hyuga Hisashi followed Ryosuke back home. Under Hyuga Hayashi's puzzled eyes, Ryosuke explained the matter clearly in a few words, and then the two brothers hurried to the Hokage building to discuss the matter with Konoha's senior management. Because Ryosuke didn't want to show his face in front of high-level officials, he didn't follow him, but quietly waited for the news at home. Raise your hands higher and don't shake your legs. In the courtyard, Ryosuke was lying comfortably on the wooden plank, opening his mouth from time to time, and pointing a few words lazily. And in front of him is the little hinobi with a serious face, who is walking in the sun. Of course, the horse stance is Ryosuke's own statement. This training method has no name in ninjas, but it is very common. The purpose is to stabilize the foot and prevent the enemy from being caught by the loopholes in the physical combat. When he returned to the village, Hinata hadn't left school yet, and Hanabi was already 3 years old, and it was time for him to participate in training and lay the foundation for his future ninja career. Since my father followed Hyuga Hisashi to the Hokage building for a meeting, he was of course responsible for guiding the spiritual practice. Don't look at me, concentration and endurance are very important things for a ninja. Because Hanabi always glanced in his direction, let Ryosuke guide again, look straight ahead, don't be distracted by things around you, even if I talk, don't take your eyes off your target. As he spoke, a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. This smile is very sincere and relaxed, which is different from the fake appearance outside. Only in this home, in front of his family, can his vigilance be relaxed a little. Ryosuke, I'm tired. A dull and aggrieved voice sounded. Hanabi turned his head eagerly. I've been standing all afternoon. That's not okay. The pitiful look of the little guy made Ryosuke very soft-hearted. But it's a pity that he is not a person who will spoil his children just because his heart is soft. Your sister is at your age, she can stand for a whole day, she can bite her lip and persevere without saying a word. He shook his head and waved his hands casually. Turn your head quickly and look directly at the target. Oh. Turning around angrily, Hanabi was already thinking about how to sue her sister when she came home. But her little thoughts are all written on her face, and Ryosuke can tell what she's thinking with a casual glance. But she didn't care too much. Even if she sued Hinata, Hinata would not stand up for her. What he said just now is not wrong. In terms of hard work, Hinata is no less than anyone else, especially when she was still very introverted before, she would not express her thoughts. If you are tired, suffering, or unable to hold on, you will not open your mouth. Every time she had to be reminded by the person next to her, she would stop. Say cao cao, and cao cao will arrive. Ryosuke just wanted to close his eyes and rest for a while, when a person walked in outside the house. Elder sister. Seeing the person coming, Hanabi looked very happy, and was just about to say something. Immediately afterwards, she saw her elder sister who had just come home from school and hadn't seen her for 8 hours, passed her directly and ran to the corridor. Yes, Hanabi misses her sister, ignoring her. Ryosuke. You're back. Hanabi, who was already physically exhausted, only felt that the world suddenly looked grey. On Ryosuke's side, it's all pink. Sitting up from the reclining state, he hugged Hinata who was almost pounced on him. Why are you so frizzy? I have only left the village for a few days, and it has been more than a week, right? I went to Kyoto City for a while. I've never seen you think of me this much. It's not because there was such a big battle when you left. Hinata hugged him tightly, clinging to him like a kitten. Your mission this time should be very dangerous, right? As long as you come back safely, I'm worried about you every day during your absence. In fact, we didn't touch anyone at all when we went out this time. Ryosuke looked helpless. Get up first, let me talk to you about what we did when we went out this time. The main reason is that the current posture makes him very uncomfortable. Because after Ryosuke sat up from a reclining state, he sat cross-legged, and when Hinata jumped over, he put his knees directly on his calf. The weight of Hinata was supported by the 2 lower legs. Although his body was very strong, this position was quite uncomfortable. It is good. Hinata also felt something was wrong, got up and sat down beside Ryosuke. And at this time, she seemed to notice something. It turns out that Hanabi is still practicing, it's so late. She seemed to have just seen someone standing in the yard. Hanabi, who was already ignored and already in a bad mood, was so angry that he wanted to stop his practice and leave directly after hearing this sentence. But when she thought of her father's stern face, she didn't dare to move. Just like that, she didn't talk to Hinata, she turned her back to them, continued to stride, and looked directly at her target. It's pretty serious, Hanabi is amazing. It's a pity that Hinata obviously didn't guess what was going on in her heart, and thought it was because her sister was immersed in her practice and couldn't extricate herself. Regarding the matter between their sisters, Ryosuke didn't want to get involved, and explained with a chuckle, this time we went out, we originally planned to take over the foreign affairs of the country of Wave. This trip was considered smooth and steady, without the battles encountered when leaving the village for the first time. It's strange to say that they didn't plan to have a battle, but they encountered a battle on the mission of traveling to Kyoto City. Although it was a test arranged by Ryosuke for himself, it was also a real battle. But the Wave country and his party were originally prepared to confront several Jainins, but they didn't fight, and even formed a temporary alliance. But although there is no battle, what Ryosuke is actually doing is far more complicated and difficult than a life and death battle. And for these, Hinata, who wants to become the head of the family in the future, must be contacted. So he didn't hide it, and told her little by little, explaining some more complicated contents of the plan by the way. For example, an alliance with actual interests bundled will be more reliable than an agreement alliance. Another example is the influence of the alliance on the future ninja world. And Hinata listened very carefully, asking questions from time to time, and trying to write down every word about Ryosuke. End of this chapter. Chapter 90. Chapter 90. The alliance that affects the ninja world. Hanabi was so angry that he didn't talk to Hinata until the meal. But unfortunately, the dull Hinata didn't realize that his behavior just now made his sister angry. He just mistakenly thought that Hanabi was too tired from practicing, and got up frequently to bring her food, cared for her, and even asked her to go to bed early tonight. Ryosuke sat in his seat and ate silently, he could feel her inner thoughts from Hanabi's speechless gaze. It's a punch on the cotton, and even the cotton doesn't feel the déjà vu of you hitting it. Finally, when the rice bowl in front of him was piled up full of meat and vegetables, and no trace of rice could be seen, Hanabi couldn't help but said, "Sister, don't pinch it for me, I can't even eat gone." She has been discouraged. My sister can't even feel that she is angry, so how can she play her temper? Hearing this, Hinata's chopsticks were suspended in mid-air. Sorry, I calculated based on my appetite. It was only then that she remembered that her appetite was different from that of ordinary people. Sister, let's eat together, I can't finish it alone. Hanabi jumped off the chair, dragged the chair across the floor, and got close to Hinata. While feeding her sister, she still looked at Ryosuke proudly from time to time, as if telling him that my sister is mine. But Ryosuke ignored her and ate his meal by himself. He doesn't quite understand this kind of child's possessiveness towards his parents. A dinner ended under such strange circumstances. However, Hinata's conjecture was correct. Hanabi was indeed a little tired because of his practice. After dinner, she washed and rested early, since she was still young after all. However, after today's dinner, they did not go to the practice field to practice as usual. Ryosuke has just returned from a mission, and he can't calm down to practice for the time being, he just wants to have a good rest and relax for a night. And Hinata also accompanied him and did not leave. A small coffee table with some fruit. The two just watched the moon in the yard, enjoying a moment of tranquility, and waiting for their father to come home. Hyuga Hayashi did not attend today's dinner. The lights over at the Hokage building were kept on, and the meeting held for this visit to Namuni seemed to have lasted for a long time. Speaking of which, after Uchiha Sasuke failed to graduate, he has been taking leave of absence and has not gone to school. Seeming to know who Ryosuke cares more about, Hinata chatted about the recent events in the village. Naruto only came back yesterday, and it seems that a B-level mission was successfully executed. Uchiha Sasuke will definitely be able to graduate smoothly as long as he activates Sharingan independently. While feeling the tranquility, Ryosuke said to Kide, however, it is difficult to wake up after staying in school and living a stable life. He needs stimulation. This is Uchiha's destiny. But if he can rely on his own strength to pass the graduation examination instead of relying on the pupil technique of blood, I will admire him even more. His big brother graduated from ninja school back then, and he didn't rely on Sharingan. Of course, the difficulty and pressure faced by Uchiha Itachi when he graduated that year may not be as great as that of Uchiha Sasuke now. After all, Sasuke is now the orphan of Uchiha. Although he is sitting on the family's treasure, he has no one to guide him, so he can only explore it by himself. As for Naruto. Speaking of the current Naruto, Ryosuke had a smile on his face. The team Hokage-sama arranged for him is very strong, and it is still very easy to complete a B-level mission. He didn't expect that Naruto would encounter any difficulties in the early stage. His current team configuration is too different from the original timeline. Because it is not a group graduation route, it means that Sarutobi Hiruzen can arrange a team for him at will. Whether as the son of the 4th generation or the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Naruto is an extremely important existence to the village. It is extremely difficult to protect him and at the same time urge him to grow. It's like Hyuga Hayashi, who didn't want Ryosuke to leave the village early to face the outside world, but had to let him go. The fledglings always have to face the blue sky by themselves before they can learn to fly. I always feel like you are special to Naruto. Seeing the smile on Ryosuke's face, Hinata handed him a piece of fresh fruit with some taste. Every time you talk about him, your mood fluctuates a lot. Hold head high. But Ryosuke didn't realize anything strange, and nodded seriously. He is a very interesting person, his growth is beyond my expectation. Every once in a while, when we meet, he always surprises me. When we first met, Naruto was just a sensitive and closed hedgehog. But later, he slowly learned self-regulation, self-discipline and compensation, and began to learn to hide himself. Although during this growth journey, Naruto made Ryosuke feel as if he was looking in the mirror for a while. After all, children always like to imitate the people around them. But since he became a ninja, the pure imitation on his body has changed, and he has begun to integrate some of his own things into his character. The day Naruto left the village and went to perform the task, the feeling for Ryosuke was no longer a kind of pretended maturity, but a real start to learn to settle and restrain. He has his own temperament. Pursing her lips, Hinata didn't respond. She could see that Ryosuke was particularly interested in strong people, or people who had the qualifications to become strong, but unfortunately she was not such a person. The atmosphere quieted down. Because he was really tired, Ryosuke didn't say much, let himself go, and let himself not be busy thinking. And Hinata also seemed to see something wrong with his face, didn't speak, and sat silently with him. The two waited until midnight, but Hyuga Hayashi did not return home. Helpless, they can only go back to the house to rest. The next morning, the sky was bright, but Hyuga Hayashi never came back. But Ryosuke somehow got some news. Yesterday, after my father and his brothers went to the Hokage building, Yuta and Koharu and Mitokado Homura also went there one after another before evening, probably because they were summoned or got news. And then, a few people seemed to have a small meeting first. Only then did they recruit Narashizu, Akamichi Dingza, Yamanaka Hiki and other family patriarchs to go there. And it wasn't until this morning when the sun was rising that Hyuga's Jainin noticed that the Shimuradans also left from the shadows, appeared in front of the public, and headed for the Hokage building. Ryosuke's trip to the Land of Waves this time affects the entire Konoha, the entire Fire Land, and even the entire ninja world. Not only did they have news from the Nation of Fire, but even other cooperating preparatory countries also learned about this matter under the operation of Kaduo. Every country involved in this time is discussing this matter, and they are trying their best to conceal it, so as to ensure that this news will not spread in the ninja world until the alliance is completed. End of this chapter. Chapter 91. Chapter 91. Being targeted again. Combat is the easiest and most convenient way to resolve disputes. I don't like you as a person, kill. It sounds harsh to me when you say this, kill. You use your right foot first when you enter the door, which makes me very uncomfortable, and it can also be killed. But what does the consequence of doing this mean, what is the reason for doing this, whether the effort is proportional to the gain, etc., are things that a normal person will definitely consider. Although some people will do some irrational behaviors when their heads are hot. But if a person takes the simplest way to solve a problem in order to do whatever he wants, he is likely to become a psychopath and become reckless. So a simple battle, dividing life and death is not the best way to solve the problem, at least in most cases. War, on the other hand, is more complicated. It is the last solution that has to appear when the disputes between countries are irreconcilable. In this world, war is a battle against the strength of ninja villages and ninja villages, between countries and their backgrounds. In this battle, the combat effectiveness of individuals, the combat effectiveness of the group, the support capability of the country, etc., all of these will be used as chips, consuming each other. Whichever side appears weaker will become the loser of the war. And since they are consuming each other, there must be no one to please. Sometimes the resources obtained by the victorious country from the defeated country are not enough to consume the share, so at least, from the perspective of ordinary people and ordinary ninjas, they are not willing to break out of war. This is also the reason why the senior management of Cloud Shinobi Village has no way to act recklessly even though they are extremely belligerent. If they want to go to war, they have to find a reason that satisfies their own country and hostile countries before they can have a chance to go to war. This is the symbol of combat and the complexity of war. What Ryosuke is doing now is to expand the complexity of the war, thereby suppressing the outbreak of large-scale wars in a short period of time. Early the next morning, although Hyuga Hayashi didn't come back, Ryosuke was not in a hurry. After a night's rest, refreshed, he accompanied Hinata to school after a long absence. There will always be results. At least, if this plan is approved, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Dans, the two heads of Konoha, will definitely be more anxious than Ryosuke. Of course, the premise is that they can approve the plan. Although everything is not absolute, but Ryosuke is still very sure that no one in the village will object to this matter. Even though Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others couldn't see through some of his deployments, after all, this is an opportunity to recharge their batteries. I believe that as long as the village's senior management is not brainless, they will agree to it. Konoha cannot stand the war now, this is a fact that most people in the village management know well. The road was smooth and steady, and the streets of Konoha village were as quiet and beautiful as ever. When Ryosuke and the others came to school, it was already class time. But being late is nothing to top students. In the eyes of Inuzuka Kaiba and Shikamaru standing at the door with buckets on their hands, Ryosuke made an excuse, and Irika smiled and told them to hurry into the classroom and sit down. By the way, I am also concerned about Ryosuke's recent physical condition. Because the excuse he used when asking for leave was sick leave. I have good news for you today. After Irika came to the podium without going to class immediately, he smiled and introduced to everyone, "This is an old friend of mine, Mizuki. I believe everyone can see that he is a Chunin, and he is a powerful ninja who has much more mission experience than me. Although Mr. Mizuki has no chance to become an official teacher in the school for the time being, he has also obtained the qualification for internship. Occasionally, he will come to the school with me to teach everyone the knowledge that ninjas must master." Beside Irika, stood a gentle-looking silver-haired man who was also smiling. Mizuki is still very handsome, at least it can be seen from the eyes of many girls in the class, his popularity should not be less than Irika's next. But unfortunately, in Ryosuke's eyes, his smile is like an actor in a third-rate TV series, full of mistakes and omissions, completely unable to hide the violence and jealousy in his heart. Really want to teach him how to be a good actor? Ryosuke looked away helplessly. With this guy's heart and talent, he was just an abandoned son of Orochimaru at his peak, and there was really nothing worthy of his attention. Thump thump. And at this moment, knocking on the door interrupted the harmonious atmosphere in the class. "Suzuki, are you coming to class too?" Irika sounded a little surprised. At the door, Uchiha Suzuki, who was panting heavily and sweating profusely, nodded indifferently, not embarrassed by being late at all, but went straight into the classroom. As a teacher who has been with him for several years, Irika also understands Sasuke's personality, but he is not angry because of his indifference. He scratched his head and said, "Then hurry back to your seat." Before he could finish speaking, Suzuki had already started scanning the classroom with his eyes. Finally, his eyes fell on Ryosuke. 1 step, 2 steps. Stepping up the stairs as if no one else was there, Uchiha Suzuki sat down beside Ryosuke, who was on the top floor in the last row, instead of returning to his usual seat by the window. Because the seats in the ninja classroom are not fixed, they usually sit casually, so Irika didn't stop him, and continued to introduce Mizuki beside him. "I like to sit alone." Regarding this matter, Ryosuke's heart is a little weird, but on the surface he is still very gentle. "Let's play a game." Sitting next to him, which was originally Naruto's position, Sasuke's serious voice sounded, "If you beat me, I will obey you." Good guy, being targeted again. Thinking in his heart, Ryosuke spread his hands helplessly, that is, he didn't answer his words, but he didn't bother him to sit next to him. Hinata said that since Uchiha Suzuki failed the graduation examination application, just like him, he has been taking leave at home. I don't know what happened, but it happened that he came to school today, so he came too. Saying it was a coincidence, Ryosuke would definitely not believe it. There is no doubt that Uchiha Sasuke, who was out of breath when he entered the door, should have hurried over from home after hearing the news of his coming to school. To be honest, although Uchiha Sasuke's current identity is not as sensitive as Naruto's, Ryosuke doesn't want to have too much to do with him. At the very least, he doesn't want to be the one to influence Sasuke's early graduation. A long time ago, Ryosuke had guessed whether he would participate in the future that Uchiha Sasuke could graduate early. But thinking about it carefully, if he graduated early, it would not do him any good. From the future he sees through, Uchiha Sasuke drives Susanoo and wreaks havoc in the village. It can be seen that his future is extremely uncontrollable, and it is likely to have an impact on his current deployment. So rather than have an influence on him and let him graduate early, it is better to let Uchiha Sasuke stay in school. This is Ryosuke's current thinking. End of this chapter. Chapter 92. Chapter 92. Little Butterfly. For one morning, Uchiha Sasuke watched Ryosuke silently. As for having such a person by his side, like a voyeur, Ryosuke's heart remained unmoved. Keep an attitude of ignoring and not actively provoking. Compared with Naruto, who has a calm mind and knows how to hide himself, Uchiha Sasuke's character is obviously too emotional under the influence of his blood, and it is easy to act irrationally under impulse, and even become a lunatic. He is an unstable factor, so Ryosuke does not plan to touch it for the time being. Furthermore, it is not a good thing for Sasuke to graduate early. According to the picture seen by Bun, Sasuke graduated early. There is a certain chance that there will be a route for him to have a revenge mentality towards Konoha. And if Konoha is hit hard, it will undoubtedly cause a bigger chain reaction. For example, the plan of the Akatsuki organization is likely to be launched ahead of schedule. If Satsuki Kagaya breaks the seal early because of this, it will be tricky, so Ryosuke doesn't plan to interfere with Uchiha Sasuke's affairs. Up to now, maintaining a stable pace of life is what Ryosuke has been doing in his spare time of practicing. He needs time to grow, and during the growth process, because of his appearance, it is very likely that many things will not be the same as the original timeline, or will happen earlier. Even if Ryosuke is careful not to affect anyone in this situation, there is no way to make everything the same as before. Destiny, though it can be seen with the help of supercilious eyes. But fate is unpredictable. It's like a person who could have met his future wife in the right place, but because of Ryosuke's appearance, he couldn't meet the right person at the right time. Thus, he married a wife who should not have been in his fate line. Originally, he should have a child with ninja talent, but now, his child has abandoned literature and martial arts, and his dream has become a businessman. Maybe this matter was just a trivial matter at first, just a family matter. But in the future, when the child grows up and really becomes a businessman instead of a ninja, then this matter will become a somewhat important matter from a trivial matter. His vacancy, maybe someone can fill it, but maybe no one can fill it. Probably, because of this small change. In a certain war, because of the lack of such a ninja battle made a mistake that should not have occurred, resulting in the defeat of the village, followed by the demise of the country. Event. This is the result of a little butterfly instigation, it is the butterfly effect. For this situation, Ryosuke deeply agrees. You know, he and Naruto had never met before the start of school, but because Hinata made some undue attempts and got acquainted with Ino and others, Naruto's personality changed. It's hard to predict the occurrence of such a small thing. So, instead of letting the world's progress develop in an unpredictable direction, what Ryosuke did was to take the initiative to respond to the situation that destroyed the original timeline and grasp the general trend. Of course, it is difficult to roughly grasp the chaotic timeline in your hands, it must be inevitable, but it is not too difficult. In terms of intelligence, Ryosuke sits on the development process of the original timeline of the world and knows many secrets of the ninja world. In terms of status, he is also the clan of Hyuga, mastering the huge information chain built by the millennium-old clan of Hyuga, and driving a force that is enough to bring down a small ninja village. Besides these, the most important thing is of course his own ability. In 2 lives, Ryosuke in the previous life was good at these things, but in this life, under the 2 transformations, his thinking reaction speed became more acute, and it became easier to construct and think about these things. Under the influence of many factors, it is not difficult for Ryosuke to grasp the general trend. The afternoon class is actual combat training. Under the scorching sun, Ryosuke and his entire class gathered in the training ground with the plain as the environment. The lecturer is Chunin Mizuki, who is a trainee teacher. As soon as they got together, Mizuki was preparing to assign the list of duels when he heard Uchiha Sasuke suddenly shout, "Mr. Mizuki, I apply for actual combat training with Hyuga Ryosuke." His cold voice was extremely loud in the quietly assembled team. Many people put their eyes on Sasuke, and then on Ryosuke, as if they were guessing whether there was any grievance between the two of them. It can only be said that it was expected. Hearing Sasuke's words, Ryosuke's face did not change in any way, and he said flatly, "Sorry Mizuki-sensei, I may need to reject this proposal." As he said that, he looked at Sasuke who had been staring at him since he was in school. "Our Hyuga's combat style is quite special. I applied to practice with Hinata. We need to be proficient in each other's gentle fist technique. Sasuke wants to use himself as a sharpening stone." This is something Ryosuke realized from the beginning. Perhaps it was the battle with Naruto that made Uchiha Sasuke guess that he was also hiding his strength, so he kept staring at himself. "You shouldn't be coming to school today," Ryosuke thought helplessly. He wanted to experience the school life after a long absence, but he really didn't expect that Uchiha Sasuke would stare at him. In this case, Mizuki was in a dilemma between the two of them. He scratched his head in distress. "Why don't you two discuss it, or you three can practice together? It just so happens that because of Uzumaki Naruto graduating early in your class, the number of people in your class was originally unequal. Now the three of you are practicing. Forget it, Mr. Mizuki, you can be my opponent." Staring at Ryosuke for a while, Uchiha Sasuke finally gave up on the proposal just now, and put his gaze on Mizuki, interrupting what he was about to say. Unable to complete the graduation assessment and having no clansman to guide him, Sasuke who was trapped in the cage wanted to break free, so he could only seek a stronger opponent. Because the school curriculum has no way for him to learn things, and the actual combat with his classmates can no longer make him feel in danger, so he looks at Ryosuke who may be hiding something, hoping to gain pressure. But now, Sasuke clearly sensed that the other party really didn't want to fight him. In such a situation, if he insists on fighting, there is no way to arouse the opponent's fighting spirit. That being the case, it might as well change another target. Teacher Chinin, who used to teach practical lessons, was an old guy who was about to retire, and he was not easy to do it, but now this Mizuki, it seems that he should have some strength. If they can win him smoothly, they may have a chance to pass the graduation examination. Mizuki was a little surprised, and pointed at himself. "Does Sasuke-san want to challenge me?" His tone seemed a little unbelievable. "What kind of experience is it like to be challenged by your own students on the first day of being a teacher?" "I was underestimated." Although there was a smile on his face, Mizuki was already angry in his heart. He is a very proud person in his heart, and this feeling of being underestimated makes him very uncomfortable. "I went to work overtime, excuse me, number, end of this." Chapter 93. Chapter 93 Fighting is a shortcut to becoming powerful. Ding ding ding. The shurikens collided in the air, making a piercing metallic sound. Hirano's practice field had almost no shelter. Facing a Chunin's pursuit, Uchiha Sasuke could only lower his figure, while dexterously dodging Mizuki's pursuit. He turned around from time to time to try to launch a counterattack. His neat and crisp movements have surpassed the level that an ordinary student should have, and fully possess the ability of a real ninja. Facing Chunin, Sasuke did not attack directly like Naruto. In the case that the amount of chakra and actual combat experience are completely unequal, Sasuke needs to rely on part of the tactics to try to win. But his attitude made Mizuki feel that he was underestimated. "Does this kid really think he can beat me? A guy who isn't even a ninja actually wants to defeat me?" Mizuki only felt that he was insulted. The smile on his face became stiffer, and he could hardly bear the emotions brought about by this insult. And with the release of emotions, the movements of his hands became sharper, and the number of times he kept his hands became less and less. The result, of course, is that Uchiha Sasuke's arms and thighs have been scratched by shuriken. Scarlet blood flowed from the wound, but it didn't affect his movements in the slightest. On the contrary, the stimulation of wound pain made Uchiha Sasuke's movements sharper, and even gradually kept up with Mizuki's attack rhythm. He had been pretending to be cold, and even had a smile on his face. While enjoying the battle, he tried hard to feel the changes in himself. Fighting is indeed one of the easiest ways to grow. It is said to be a course for actual combat, but in fact, when Uchiha Sasuke challenged Mizuki, most people had no intention of calming down and practicing. This is a challenge to Chunin. For the students of the ninja school, this is an extremely rare scene. Just like a practice field after school, the big guys stood far away, leaving the scope of the battle to the two, admiring this rare battle. Watching this kind of battle can gain more combat experience than practicing with people of the same level as yourself. And Ryosuke and Hinata are the same, watching the battle from a distance. Uchiha Sasuke has improved significantly compared to the performance he played against Naruto last time. Not only has the control of chakra been improved, but more chakra has been effectively used and consumption has been reduced. And I also learned some small skills, such as condensing chakra under the feet so that I can adsorb on the tree body and water surface. This technique used by chakra is a skill that every ninja must master. At the same time, it can also be used as a means of exercising chakra's control. Under normal circumstances, if there is an elder in the family who is a ninja, the students will master this skill in advance, but it is a pity that Uchiha Sasuke is now an orphan, and no one can guide him in this regard. But this does not affect him secretly learning this in the battle with Naruto. However, he is not proficient in using it, and it is still relatively difficult to explore it by himself. Uchiha Sasuke's progress is so fast. The last time I saw him, he looked like a completely different person. Although the distance is a bit far away, the eyesight of the Hyuga clan is nothing at all. While admiring the completely unequal battle, Hinata exclaimed and asked, "Ryosuke, do you think he can win?" For the first time, she felt a strong sense of frustration from someone other than Ryosuke. Is this the so-called talent? Uchiha Sasuke learned so much from Uzumaki Naruto in just one fight. As of now, the gap is too big, there is absolutely no way for him to win. Ryosuke shook his head, unless he can activate Sharingan. He is no longer the Wuxia Aman who talked about war on paper. He already has a certain vision and can judge the outcome of a battle. Sharingan, it is inevitable to talk about Sharingan. Unlike Hyuga, in addition to the pupil technique brought by the blood, there is also a secret inheritance. The outside world's impression of Uchiha seems to be only Sharingan. Relying on Sharingan to be proud, relying on Sharingan to be powerful, but at the same time, excessive dependence also leads to a lot of loss of strength if they can't open these eyes. Although his reaction speed is very fast, but, if I can fight in close combat, it seems that I can't win. Hinata looked at it for a long time, and suddenly said this sentence. Before Ryosuke turned her head to reprimand, she shrank her head quickly. I mean, close combat, if he is willing to fight me close, I am sure to win the battle. I don't mean to underestimate Uchiha Sasuke. She knows Ryosuke too well. Sometimes when a word is spoken, even if Ryosuke doesn't give any response, she can roughly guess what is going on in his heart. The frown softened, and Ryosuke was relieved. Very well, remember this, don't underestimate any opponent, including those who are inferior to you in various abilities. When you become a real ninja, I hope that you will not hold back any enemies. Even if you really can't kill them directly, you should also destroy their limbs and meridians. After ensuring absolute safety, you can say something. The villain dies of talking too much. The last sentence Ryosuke did not say, because such a well-behaved Hinata, how could it be a villain? Hey! Hearing his praise, Hinata smiled embarrassedly at first, and then said, actually, I really want to graduate soon, and then perform missions with you to see the outside world. Staying in the village every day makes me feel not like the future head of a ninja family, but more like a noble lady. Perhaps every battle with Ryosuke made Hinata feel the gap between the two, and her vision improved again and again. In the school, the petty fights have gradually disappeared from her eyes. Although she has to work hard for a month to defeat an Inuzuka tooth, and she still doesn't have the strength to be the first in her grade, and she doesn't have the strength to defeat everyone in the whole grade, but she already has the vision to look down on it all. Hinata also understands that it is not advisable to think that vision is higher than strength, but it is this kind of vision that makes her eager to graduate. She has been trying to catch up with Ryosuke's figure, but can only see his back getting further and further away. This feeling made her very powerless. Come on, you still have a long way to go to become a qualified patriarch. Ryosuke said with a chuckle, reached out to hold her hand, and looked into the distance with complicated eyes. Next year, they will be 8 years old. And this also means that Hanabi is also 4 years old. End of this chapter. Chapter 94. Chapter 94 New Direction. The final result of the battle between Sasuke and Mizuki was of course that Mizuki won. Although Uchiha Sasuke's talent is very good, it is a pity that he is still relatively young after all, and he has not been exposed to the world outside the village. But Mizuki is different, he is a very experienced chunin, although his character is not very good, but his strength is absolutely nothing to say. Ryosuke has an information chain built by the Hyuga family, and can clearly understand Mizuki's past. He has nearly 100 B-level mission experience, and even participated in the Third Ninja World War. Although he has no talent, he is a pure ninja who strives to improve himself and pursue greater power. This may also be the reason why he is extremely proud of himself. But it's a pity, limited by his strength, the most glorious moment of his life should be this battle. It was a good farce. Ryosuke didn't learn anything from the battle between the two, but Hinata next to him, has been trying to remember their fighting style. When I got home from school, Hyuga Hayashi still didn't come back, and Hyuga Hisashi did the same. Since yesterday, Niji has come to ask more than once where his father is, and it can be seen that he is still very dependent on Hyuga Hisashi. But unfortunately, Ryosuke doesn't know when their meeting will end this time. Sister. Today, let's practice together with me today. It's not time for dinner yet. In the courtyard, Hanabi, who had been practicing a boring day at home alone, pulled Hinata's arm and wanted to go to the training ground. Although Hinata was held by his sister by one arm, his body showed no sign of moving. She turned her head to look at Ryosuke. Obviously, she wanted Ryosuke to come along. Go, I just happen to have some other things to do, so I may have time to guide you at night. Thinking he had read her mind, Ryosuke smiled lightly and waved his hand. Remember to come back before dinner time. From the day Hinata really changed, her practice was being guided by Ryosuke instead of Hyuga Hayashi as her father. For more than a week, he went out of the village to the country of Nami, and he hadn't guided her for a while. So Ryosuke thinks that Hinata should look forward to his guidance and want to become stronger, because this is her goal all the time. Although Ryosuke really wants to help Hinata, but before that, he has a more important thing to do. Let's go, sister. Finally, after Ryosuke opened his mouth, Hanabi had been pulling him, but Hinata, who was still standing still, moved and started to move forward with the force of the pull. She has the attitude of being a big sister. She kept holding back her strength to prevent Hanabi from falling. Looking at the back of the two sisters leaving intimately, Ryosuke's eyes gradually became a little complicated. Next year, Hanabi will be 4 years old, and according to family rules, she will be branded as caged bird and become a branch house. At that time, it will be hard to say whether the two sisters will be as close as they are now. After all, there are two prerequisites, Father Hyuga Hayashi and Uncle Hyuga Hisashi. But this matter is still early, there is still a year to go, and there are many more important things now. Silently withdrawing his gaze, Ryosuke turned his head and walked towards his room. Open the thin and fragile door. Inside, there are scrolls stacked like a hill. These are all the techniques collected by the Hyuga family for thousands of years, including ninjutsu, illusion, and physical techniques. Ryosuke asked Hyuga Hayashi to arrange it before leaving the village. Although most of the Hyuga clan have not mastered ninjutsu and genjutsu, it doesn't mean they don't know how to do it, or they can't master it. Rather than saying they don't know how, it's better to say that they don't want to waste time on these low-level techniques. In the family history of thousands of years, Hyuga has inherited many secret arts that fit the blood. Although it is very easy for Ryosuke to master these secret techniques, he has mastered them all in less than a year. But in fact, mastering these secret techniques is not easy. Among them, the gentle fist method is the most basic one, and it is also something that every Hyuga must learn. Many of the Hyuga have spent their lives barely scratching the surface. Only a few people can master most of the secret arts. In this situation, they really don't have extra time and energy, so they can learn some techniques that don't fit their blood. But Ryosuke is different, he has a lot of energy and ability to learn this. If he wants to become stronger, he must also learn these. Although the limiter in his mind can improve his ability, judging from the current situation, every improvement is actually an extension of the original ability and a breakthrough. If you don't have a foundation, you can't improve there. For example, Bun Leave 1 can become Bun Leave 2 after transformation, but without the skill of Bun, there is no way to upgrade it. To become stronger, he needs to master new abilities first. As for the direction in which Ryosuke can become stronger now, in addition to the daily exercise and physical skills, the exploration of Bun's ability has reached a bottleneck. Whether it is seeing through the future or seeing through people's hearts, the use of these known abilities is too illusory. Apart from passive triggering, he has no way to develop them like coercion and illusion for the time being. So, we can only start with the technique. According to the known information, in addition to the ordinary techniques that any ninja can master, there are also special secret techniques that are divided into 3 levels: blood successor snare, blood successor elimination, and blood successor boundary. The extraordinary energy of chakra has attributes. Among them, fire, water, wind, thunder, earth, yin, and yang are the most common attributes, and everyone has attributes in their bodies. The chakra attribute produced in each human body has its strengths and weaknesses. If the wind attribute accounts for a larger proportion, it will be easier to master and use ninjutsu that matches the corresponding attribute. But this does not mean that the attributes of chakra in everyone's body are fixed. With the growth of ninjas, the control of chakra and the deepening of nature transformation, they can begin to try to develop other attributes in their bodies. This is why many ninjas can master more than 2 attributes and chakra nature transformation after reaching the stage of Jainin. Today's 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, possesses 5 chakra attributes because his father, Sarutobi Suzuki, has perfectly mastered the nature transformation of the 5 chakra attributes. The blood successor elimination and blood succession snare are special secret techniques derived from multiple combinations of chakra with different attributes. As for the blood inheritance boundary, it generally refers to the synthesis of 2 types of attribute changes, or the pupil technique extended by chakra's fusion of special organs of the human body, or other physical changes. What Ryosuke wants to try now is to master the 7 chakra attributes and develop a blood succession net like Satsuki Kagaya. But before that, he needs to learn a lot of new things, that is, the pile of scrolls in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 95. Chapter 95 Development of Affiliate Program. 3rd Hokage and the senior management of the village attach great importance to the establishment of the alliance. At the highest meeting this morning, this proposal was unanimously approved by all the senior management in the village and the chiefs of all ethnic groups. In the afternoon, Sarutobi Hiruzen made work arrangements. 2 consultants, Yuta and Koharu and Mitokado Homura, have rushed to Kyoto City to meet with the daimyo of our country. I believe that the daimyo's consent will be obtained soon. As for the Seagull Shipping Chamber of Commerce, there are also special people to investigate its details and confirm whether they have the qualifications and ability to become the middlemen of the alliance of various countries. Late at night, in the study of Hyuga's main house, Ryosuke and Hinata sat on the opposite side of the desk, and on the other side was Hyuga Hayashi with a tired face. The meeting that lasted for a day and a half because of the matter of the Land of Waves finally ended in the early hours of this morning. However, after Hyuga Hayashi came back, he did not take a break directly, but immediately synchronized with Ryosuke and the others about the final results of this meeting. There is no difference from what Ryosuke guessed. Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to agree to this business-bound alliance plan. He originally hoped that the village could embark on a path of solid self-development, rather than intending to plunder other countries' resources to strengthen its own path like Cloud Shinobi Village did. As for the core point of the alliance, they also have a thorough understanding, and they can understand that if this matter can really be achieved, then the peace of the ninja world will last for a longer period of time. At least in the absence of accidents within their alliance, other countries dare not start wars wantonly. It's no different from what I imagined. After pondering for a moment, Ryosuke slowly absorbed the information synchronously sent to him by Hyuga Hayashi in his mind, and nodded. So, what role will we Hyuga play in this plan? Regarding this point, has Sarutobi Hiruzen followed up with did you explain? Although the Hyuga is the most leading person, but also as the original initiator of the plan. But it is obvious that the scope of this plan is no longer something that a Hyuga can afford, and only Sarutobi Hiruzen, or the Fire Nation daimyo, who hold the power of a country, can participate. Make substantive decisions. After the meeting, Sarutobi Hiruzen did talk to me about it alone. Hyuga Hayashi seems to have expected that Ryosuke would ask this most important question directly. He hopes that the next thing will be taken over by the village. After a while, after all the matters in the Land of Fire are confirmed, we, Hyuga, will lead the team to the Land of Waves again, and we will negotiate with the senior management of the village with the people of the Seagull Shipping Chamber of Commerce and carry out the handover work. And if this alliance is reached, Konoha, and even the Nation of Fire will divide a certain share of the income every year and share it with our Hyuga clan. A&D. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Konoha's high-level officials discussed and promised that they are willing to hand over the work of the guards, which was originally under the jurisdiction of the Uchiha clan, to our Hyuga. At this point, he paused, and looked at the confused Hinata. The specific idea is that we hope that we can leave this matter to the village, and the corresponding compensation is our Hyuga's comfortable and stable life in the future. Hinata understood this sentence, and nodded silently, without interjecting. You agreed to this matter. But Ryosuke frowned. About the guard. A safe and comfortable life is of course good, this is what the Hyuga desires now, and it is also what he cares about personally. He needs time to grow up, and in this process, he doesn't want to have too many worries. Recently, he has been busy with the affairs of the Land of Waves and stabilized the situation of the entire ninja world. Ryosuke has not practiced well for a while. A new direction of practice has been found, and now he is eager to study the attributes of various chakras and nature transformation. But the job of the guard is obviously not a good job. Of course it is impossible to agree. Although this position has real power, it is not a good thing in terms of the current situation of our family. Fortunately, Hyuga Hayashi also saw the troubles that the position of the guard might bring. I have rejected Sarutobi Hiruzen's proposal, and I hope he can focus on the Fire Nation. Although we ninjas are not allowed to engage in politics in most cases, we can still be accepted if we are just servants of some officials. But Sarutobi Hiruzen can't decide on this matter. He needs to confirm with the daimyo first, but I think this proposal will be agreed with a high probability. After all, we have paid a lot. Father's proposal is indeed relatively safe for our current situation. The worries in Ryosuke's heart dissipated, although from the ninja's point of view, the father who is good at all kinds of calculations is no longer a pure ninja. But from the perspective of the head of the clan, it is okay to develop in the direction of politicians. One more thing. I don't want you to go to the second meeting. With a troubled expression on his face, Hyuga Hayashi hesitated and said, there is no impenetrable wall in the world, let alone such a huge plan. Even if each of our countries strictly checks, there is no guarantee that the news will not be leaked. The next meeting may be dangerous. At least other countries that have not received the invitation of the alliance are likely to send people to disrupt the progress of the meeting. There is a high probability that a small-scale war will break out at that time. In a situation where there are too many people, if you want to hide your strength, it will only restrict you, and it may be dangerous. There is no rush on this matter. But Ryosuke seemed very calm. The time for the next meeting is not so fast, and many things cannot be guaranteed before then. But I promise you, if I'm not sure when the time comes, I won't follow. Cultivation is something he pays more attention to now, and his priority is before anything else. But the matter about the alliance is also ahead of other things, second only to cultivation. This plan was constructed by Ryosuke, who considered both pros and cons. If it succeeds, then in the next few years, the entire ninja world will be safe and sound, and even the tail beast capture plan organized by Akatsuki will not be so easy to carry out. At that time, Ryosuke will have enough time to grow up and let himself go through enough transformations. But if it fails, it will likely lead to the early outbreak of the Fourth Ninja World War and accelerate the development of the timeline. So this affiliate program is quite important. Although, if it fails, Ryosuke also has a plan to consider later. But he still hopes that this alliance can go smoothly, so that he won't spend too much energy on things that he personally doesn't want to do. End of this chapter. Chapter 96. Chapter 96. The ignored fact. Because it is something that has already been decided synchronously, it doesn't take a lot of time. Before the first half of the night was over, Hyuga Hayashi went back to his room to rest a little bit unbearably. Although what he experienced was not an extremely dangerous battlefield, from yesterday to today, he has been negotiating with the high-level officials in the village and forcibly recording various information. This kind of high-intensity operation of the mind consumes no more energy and pressure than stalking and killing any enemy on the battlefield. Father left first. Ryosuke and Hinata did not leave the study immediately, but talked about the content of the synchronization just now. Every time the three of them gathered in the study to discuss some important matters, Ryosuke always needed to spend some time explaining to Hinata after the conclusion. Although children in this world are very precocious, and Hinata is even more precocious, but after all, experience are there. She couldn't understand many things, so she could only write them down silently and ask Ryosuke later. Over time, this habit has developed. The upper echelons of the village can only accommodate people centered on the village. You should be able to tell from the past employment records in the village. So, if we take down the real power of the guard, it is not a good thing. Although we may be very comfortable before the alliance is reached, as time goes by, we are likely to be targeted. This possibility is unpredictable, so instead of betting that the people in the village will be scruples, it is better to start with other aspects to reduce conflicts of interest. While explaining to Hinata, Ryosuke gathered his thoughts. This process can be regarded as a replay, or it can be said that it is more intuitive to make one's thinking clear through language description. Hinata listened silently, memorized it in her head, and didn't take notes to prevent these things from leaking out. After Ryosuke's own thinking became clear and he fully absorbed all the information learned today, Hinata also understood Hyuga's position in Konoha and Ryosuke and his father's grasp of the situation in the ninja world. She understands though, Ryosuke is talented. I also know that my father and the others have been hiding this matter, giving Ryosuke time to grow up. Perhaps when Ryosuke grows up, the situation in Konoha village will change drastically. But she didn't know how complicated the process was. In Hinata's previous thinking, isn't this something that can be done by hiding and not having much contact with other people? It wasn't until now that she saw clearly that if they wanted to grow steadily, they had to hold certain things in their hands. It always feels like Ryosuke and his father think more than other ninjas. After hesitating for a while, Hinata couldn't help but said, others are thinking about how to fight for their interests, how to become stronger, but your direction seems to be not here. Compared to becoming stronger, compared to embezzling benefits, the intuitive goal of controlling power. She even felt that the direction of Ryosuke and the two seemed to be more complicated, becoming a bit less like a ninja. Being able to see this shows that you have really grown up. Ryosuke looked at her with a chuckle, and asked, what level do you think your father's strength in the clan is? He is relieved that Hinata can see this aspect of things. Second. After pondering for a moment, Hinata was a little uncertain about Kaide, the first one should be Ryosuke. As the patriarch, his father is of course the strongest in the clan. But she noticed that a wound suddenly appeared on her father's body some time ago. It is not a simple matter that the patriarch's father was injured, and the person who caused all this can only be Ryosuke, and only he has this opportunity. Correspondingly, Ryosuke was normal in those few days. From these details, she speculated that Ryosuke's strength may be higher than that of her father. Unfortunately, she guessed wrong. Ryosuke shook his head, based on actual combat strength, father's strength is only ranked 6th in the clan. Of course, I haven't seen many people take action. I just rely on some intelligence judgments. The actual ranking may be lower. Not to mention other people, Hyuga Hisashi who went to the country of waves with him before, and the actual combat power of Hyuga Iroha are definitely better than Hyuga Hisashi. While he doesn't think any Jonin in his clan is capable of defeating his father, he feels that most Jonin should be able to. The premise is that caged bird is not used. How is it possible? Hinata frowned suspiciously, a little disbelieving, father is the patriarch. It doesn't mean that the patriarch is the strongest. Shaking his head regrettably, Ryosuke stood up from his seat and strolled to the bookshelf. I remember I told you once that being the head of a clan requires more than just combat power. To become a qualified patriarch, the abilities required include, but are not limited to, the ability to strategize and rule, and the willingness to dedicate everything to the family, and the idea of putting the interests of the family first, is also essential. While talking, he took out a scroll from the bookshelf and threw it to her. This is a message from a Jonin named Hyuga in the clan, and it contains his father's evaluation of him, you can read it. Hinata was stunned, and just about to speak, another scroll came oncoming. In a hurry, she first put the scroll in her hand on the table, and then quickly reached out to catch the flying scroll. This is a Jonin named Hyuga Firegate. You have met this Hyuga, who was your bodyguard before. Scroll after scroll, 5 full scrolls, all recorded information about a Jonin. Among them, there is also the evaluation of the father. It is not difficult for Hinata to see from the evaluation and the actual task records of each Jonin that they are stronger than their father. Is this right? Although he doesn't have great strength, he can control people who are stronger than himself. This is a situation that Hinata has never thought about. She has always felt that the reason why her father is the patriarch is because he is the most powerful. But now, that idea is broken. Hinata discovered a problem that she had been inadvertently ignoring all along. Does this mean that, just because I am a clan from birth, then I am the heir of the future clan head of Hyuga, even if I am not the strongest ninja, even if I don't have enough talent, everyone has to listen to me of. Hinata tilted her head and looked at Ryosuke strangely. Ryosuke, I think we are very strange. Why do we, Hyuga, not rely on our excellent talents to elect the patriarch, but rely on blood? If there is a bad patriarch in any generation, wouldn't our Hyuga be messed up? Facing her puzzled gaze, Ryosuke was a little complicated. When he heard her first sentence, he thought that Hinata would take it for granted. But unexpectedly, as a party enjoying this system, she would refute that there are loopholes in this system. End of this chapter. Chapter 97. Chapter 97. She began to face some darkness and cruelty. While the head of the family and the leader enjoy the rights, they must also bear the corresponding responsibilities and pressure. If a person without talent becomes the head of the family, if he becomes the leader, the entire family and the entire team will be dragged down. Any wrong choice will have a great impact on the group. When people enjoy this benefit without actually harming their own interests, they will always unconsciously ignore some things that are not good for them. But when Hinata realized this problem, he unconsciously had such an idea in his heart, and believed that such a system was wrong. Obviously, as long as she ignores this problem, then she will be the future head of the family, regardless of whether she is capable or not. But Hinata still brought it up, and even, she gave a lot of examples. The soft and waxy voice carried a firm tone, conveying in the not-so-small study room. As her thoughts became clearer and clearer, the content displayed in front of Ryosuke became more and more real. Instead of looking at a problem from one angle, look at it from multiple perspectives. Hinata has new growth. Of course there are problems. Ryosuke left from the bookshelf, came back to her, and looked straight into her eyes, but this system was built by the people of the clan, and you, as the clan, also benefit from this system. Are you planning to overthrow this system knowing that it is imperfect? And regardless of whether you succeed or not, you are likely to lose your clan status. Even so, are you still willing to try and cut yourself off? This serious tone made Hinata a little stunned. But then, she nodded seriously, of course, this is the wrong system. The capable ones are the foundation of a family and even the development of a village. This is what you told me before. Hearing Hinata's answer, Ryosuke didn't realize it for a while. After thinking about it carefully, he remembered that he once mentioned something to her casually while practicing. Unexpectedly, she actually remembered it. Indeed, superiority of the capable is one of the foundations of a group's development, but before that, there is one thing you should be clear about. Ryosuke nodded, it's about Hyuga's system. Although Hinata realized something, his first thought was that there were loopholes in this system. But in fact, she didn't understand everything. Then, all this is meaningless, she doesn't know what she wants to overthrow and what she has to face. As you know, Hyuga is divided into main house and branch house. The people of the clan are the clan from birth, and there is only one line, only the patriarch and the heirs of the patriarch, whether it is the old-fashioned elders in the clan, or the superiors who are in high positions and govern many clansmen, they are all branch the people of the house. In order to prevent the blood from leaking out, protect the clansmen, and at the same time ensure the purity of the clan's blood, once the people in the branch house reach the age, they will be engraved with the spell of caged bird according to the clan's rules. Even life is in the mind of the clan. Ryosuke said. Hinata listened carefully. Following the words, her face first became serious, then she became ugly as if she realized something, and finally she was a little speechless. Yes, after Hinata heard from Ryosuke about all the systems of Hyuga, she has no way to simply shoulder some responsibilities and make some promises as before. With a confused expression, Hinata left the study in a daze. The time has unknowingly arrived in the middle of the night. There is still class tomorrow, although you can ask for leave, but Hinata is a good boy, as long as there is nothing special, he will definitely go to school. After she left, only Ryosuke was left in the study. Sitting quietly on the chair, he was in a daze for a while, then he silently got up and tidied up the study, and returned to his room. The important task of the family, or even changing the system, cannot be expressed by just saying a word casually. Although people in this world are relatively precocious, it is quite difficult for a child of a few years old to have this kind of awareness. Like Uchiha Itachi, there are only a few people who take on everything on their own at the age of 13. Only 1 year has passed since Hanabi carved caged bird. Regarding this matter, although Ryosuke can easily change it, it may be more reasonable if it is done by Hinata, the future owner. In the original timeline, after learning about the family system, Hinata has been avoiding it obviously because of her personality, unwilling to bear this responsibility and burden. Although in this world, Hinata's personality has changed and she has some responsibilities, but it doesn't mean that she can be responsible for this family and her own family. Therefore, what Ryosuke hopes most is of course that this matter can temper her a little bit. However, because there are so many things to think about, he can't help but feel a little tired. Although I don't need to be so tired, I can arrange everything for Hinata. But Hinata is his wife after all, not a puppet or a tool. Ryosuke's cultivation of her is only as a guide, hoping that she can have her own ideas, rather than forcing her to become a doll who only knows how to obey. So in the process, she needs to make some choices by herself. In the following time, Hinata's heart was always heavy. Originally, she just had a cold face in front of outsiders, but now, when she was at home, she would occasionally put on a straight face, as if she was thinking about something. But Ryosuke didn't feel sorry for her change. The pressure of the family responsibility is huge, but she must face it by herself and be strong by herself. Besides, he is not Hinata's nanny, let alone a teacher, he is just a husband, guiding his wife to make some choices. During this process, it is impossible for Ryosuke to pay attention to her all the time, he still has his own things to do. In the clan, his father has been busy with the affairs of the country of Bo, together with some high-level officials in the clan. The same is true for the village, which also attaches great importance to the affairs of the Kingdom of Waves. There are many commissions that are worthy of attention, but they are directly rejected by the top management. Now the manpower in the village is almost all busy with this matter, just to be able to reach an alliance. Under such circumstances, the initiator of Ryosuke's plan is the most idle. He doesn't even need to show his face, his father will synchronize all the information about the plan to him every once in a while. Therefore, he has a lot of time to start his own cultivation. As for the school, because Uchiha Suzuki has been watching, Ryosuke must not have gone, anyway, it is common for him to ask for leave at home. It can be said that from the time he stepped into the ninja school a few years ago to now, he may not have stayed in the school for 3 months. End of this chapter. No Chapter 98. Chapter 99. Chapter 99, Puppet Art, Pseudo, Illusion. Hyuga Zinke, who was walking slowly in the commercial street of the clan, paused for a while. She found herself losing control of her body. But for this situation, she didn't panic in the slightest. Continuing to be controlled by the force from afar, Hyuga Zinke's movements gradually accelerated, and she rushed towards a dense forest outside the clan. Chakra is condensed on the soles of her feet. She deftly does many complicated movements, jumps between branches, and even uses ninjutsu in knots. Yes, Yuan uses ninjutsu. Although Hyuga Zinke has not learned any ninjutsu, under the control of that consciousness, she can use ninjutsu extremely flexibly, although in the process, the technique of making seals has a certain sense of stagnation. But this feeling is receding with time, and that consciousness is gradually adapting to her body. Quickly, she took a few steps back, only to feel the feeling of being controlled return to her body. It seems that if you don't resist, this distance is already the limit. A familiar voice sounded in his mind. Hyuga Zinke hurriedly said respectfully to Kide, "Is there anything else I need to do next?" "Master Ryosuke." It is no longer Master Ryosuke, but Lord Ryosuke. In the past, she respected Ryosuke because of his status and talent. But now, Hyuga Zinke has discovered that Ryosuke's true strength is already stronger than herself, and that is no longer respect, but true submission. "Next, you try to resist my control." Far away in Hyuga's main house, Ryosuke sat in the empty courtyard, looking at the thinning trees in front of him. Autumn is almost over. It has been a long time since I came back from the land of waves. The boring practice life is not boring for Ryosuke. Just like what he thought at the beginning, if there is no time travel, if it is in the previous life. If he can get a copy of Sage Art by chance, then he will definitely not wander around like some third-rate TV series, but will study hard, even if he is alone all the time. Compared with the chaotic world of mortals, compared with the flashy dreams, what is more desirable than self-improvement, watching one's life level improve little by little? The cultivation of the 5 elements escape technique and the yin-yang escape technique is not easy. It took Ryosuke a lot of effort to master just one of nature transformation. After deliberating about his current abilities, he chose to start researching yin-yang escape in the yin-yang escape technique. The yin-yang dunshu is a secret technique that is different from the 5 elements dunshu. The secret techniques passed down by most secret arts families are all developed and constructed based on the yin-yang dunshu. Among them, Yang Dun technique symbolizes the power of the body and life, while Yin Dun refers to the spirit and soul. All illusions in this world are based on Yin Dun, and the deeper the research on Yin Dun, the fuller the attainment, the more real the power of illusion that can be exerted, making it difficult for people to break free. Based on the research and understanding of yin done during this period, the illusion ability awakened by Ryosuke has also been improved. The scope of controlling people is not limited to one's own eyes, but through a certain range of perception, one can control the space. Right now, Ryosuke is testing the limits of his abilities. His perception, along with the Hyuga constellation, has extended far, far. This feeling is very strange, as if I have two consciousnesses, one is sitting in the courtyard of the main house, and the other has gone to the outside world with the Hyuga star color. I'll try to control the chakra in my body first, and disrupt your illusion. Through the medium of white eyes, Hyuga star color communicates with Ryosuke directly across the distance of most of the clan. The way to remove the illusion is generally to disrupt the flow of your own chakra, thereby cutting off the enemy's influence on yourself. But this is generally the case. The pupil technique, or the illusion performed by a master illusionist, can make the practitioner lose control of chakra, making it impossible to release the illusion. In this case, it is generally the simplest way to interrupt the influence of the illusion by inputting chakra from the outside world by one's partner. The relatively difficult self-rescue method will extremely test the practitioner's understanding of yin done and the accuracy of his own chakra control. When Hyuga Zinke began to try to resist according to his words, Ryosuke could clearly feel that her chakra was being consumed rapidly, and the flow rate was much faster than when she did not resist before. Originally, Hyuga Zinke did not resist, he could easily control her body, including chakra in her body. But now, after she tries to resist, it is not easy for Ryosuke to control her body, especially her chakra, which is very disobedient and can no longer be as smooth as her arms and fingers. However, it is still within the acceptable range. If you want to use a huge amount of chakra to forcibly suppress it, it is not impossible. Because after the second transformation, the amount of chakra in Ryosuke's body has already made a qualitative leap, so this consumption is still affordable for him. Come here, come back. Ryosuke relinquishes control of Hyuga constellation. Yes. As for Kaide, who is very difficult on Hyuga star color, it seems that this resistance is not easy for her. At the end of the experiment, Ryosuke withdrew his illusion. In his eye sockets, the faintly fluorescent pupils gradually returned to calm. Since it is an experimental capability, it must give priority to possible bad situations. Like just now, in the state of retaining the consciousness of the controlled person, there may be a situation where each other robs each other of control over the body. In this case, Ryosuke needs to spend more energy to suppress the consciousness of the controlled person, and chakra will be quickly consumed in the process. The ability of the controlled person to resist depends on their understanding of yin done and the precision of their own chakra control. But this is a more troublesome situation, and it is a possibility that occurs in a small number of cases. Because Ryosuke's illusion is not just as simple as controlling people. When controlling, he can completely pull the consciousness of the controlled person into the illusion world he constructed. As long as the other party doesn't notice something strange, they will always sink in the illusion world, unable to have any vigilance and resistance to his control. So if it is not a particularly long-lasting battle, the control of this illusion ability can still be effective. Especially, Ryosuke didn't plan to show his face yet. Hyuga Zinke is still rushing back, he is not idle. Next to it, is a scroll. The above record is the trip to the country of waves a week later, the list of people traveling. Among them, the Hyuga clan is still the original group of people. But in addition to them Hyuga, two groups of people were added. One of them is the representative of Konoha village headed by Mito Kato Homura. The other group is the nobles of the Nation of Fire represented by the envoys of the Nation of Fire. End of this chapter. Chapter 100. Chapter 100 Real growth late at night. The Mito clan is not a huge clan center. One looks very elegant, and it is in the mansion of the Mito family with a high status. Mito Menkeng was quietly falling asleep. His sleeping posture is very good and upright, and he doesn't have any hobbies such as grinding his teeth or snoring. But very abruptly, Mito, who was lying flat on the bed, opened his eyes suddenly. His gaze was a little dazed at first, but in the blink of an eye, he regained his composure. Looking around, he didn't get off the bed, but sat up directly. Sitting cross-legged with both feet curled up, Mito got up in the middle of the night to refine his chakra inexplicably. The reason for this situation is actually because the consciousness controlling his body is no longer himself, but Ryosuke, who is far away from the clan. Situations like this have been happening every night lately. Mito Menkeng's current consciousness is falling into an illusion, and he will not be aware of what happened to him. Within the illusion, there are sometimes dreams constructed by Ryosuke for him. Sometimes, there is nothing. After all, people don't necessarily dream every night. When he wakes up, Mito Menkeng will only feel that he is in a deep sleep, without any strange feeling. As for why Ryosuke did this, it was only because of the upcoming trip to the Land of Waves. Considering the importance of the alliance this time, Ryosuke has been hesitating whether to participate and escort this plan. But because there are many outsiders who will accompany him, he is a little hesitant. After all, he didn't want to expose his abilities in front of people other than his clan, so as not to arouse jealousy and prying eyes. But now his illusion ability has a new cognition and understanding due to Yandun's research, and after his ability has been improved, he may be able to mix into this Waves country travel team in another way. Time passed little by little, and Ryosuke gradually became familiar with Mito's body. In order to ensure that when the traveling team is in danger, he can take control immediately and skillfully use his body to resolve the crisis, Ryosuke needs to adapt his consciousness to this body in advance. When it was almost dawn, he silently withdrew his ability and left the Mito family's clan. Scholars don't go out, they know everything in the world. Although Ryosuke is not a scholar, he is a member of the Hyuga clan. As long as he wants to know someone or something, Hyuga's information chain is open for him at any time. He can easily read all the information collected by the Hyuga clan as the first family of Konoha. This time, the representative of Konoha is Mito Kato Homura, and this Mito Menkangji will also be in the traveling team. Mito Menkangji, Konoha-jinin. He has performed 227 B-level missions, 123 C-level missions, and 11 D-level missions. Although he is a ninja with rich experience and good strength, but because he is a bit rigid, he has few friends, and he is not married when he is close to 30 years old, let alone any dating experience. This kind of lonely but capable person is the best choice for Ryosuke. In addition to the Mech Mito Menkangji, he has two other backup candidates to ensure the safety of the alliance plan. By the time we got home, it was already fully lit. Although he hasn't had breakfast yet, in the courtyard, Hyuga Hayashi has already begun to guide Hanabi to perform basic physical training. This scene looked very familiar, which made Ryosuke a little nostalgic. In the past, he and Hinata started to practice in this courtyard. Came back. Hyuga Hayashi looked up, noticing him coming in. Looks like you've decided to follow. His expression is a bit complicated. The degree of danger this time is more dangerous than every time Ryosuke travels in the past. But unfortunately, he couldn't stop it at all. I've made all the preparations, please rest assured. Ryosuke didn't dare to meet his gaze. He couldn't bear the worried look in his old father's eyes, he was afraid that he would not be able to help but agree and not follow. Where's Hinata? Is she up? Quickly change the subject and stop Hyuga Hayashi from talking. Before dawn, I went to the practice field. Hyuga Hayashi looked away regretfully, the child was grown up and couldn't control it anymore. I'll ask her to eat. Ryosuke nodded kide, although his father always seemed to pay little attention to his daughter Hinata. But in fact, there is definitely a lot of attention, just like these few days, Hinata has been stimulated and has been working hard to practice under pressure. And although Hyuga Hayashi didn't ask much, didn't say much, but always silently ordered the housekeeper, A Liang, to prepare more food. He knows that Hinata's hobby is eating. Hey! What? When he came to the training ground, Ryosuke could hear a lot of shouts from afar. Standing straight in the center of the training ground, Hinata was swinging her immature arms, striking forward. Fist shadows as dense as water droplets appeared in front of her. Although Hinata's hand speed is fast and there are after images, in Ryosuke's eyes, her movements are still too slow and weak. In terms of strength, she still needs to grow. But in reality, Hinata has performed very well, surpassing many of his peers. After all, what Ryosuke is comparing are those geniuses with special abilities and those who have special abilities. And Hinata, for whom she needs comparison at the moment, are those ordinary ninjas. 8 trigrams 64 palms, although it needs to be fast, and it needs to be able to launch more effective attacks at the moment of success, but strength is also very important. Ryosuke walked into the practice field while evaluating her movements. Review. Call. Take a deep breath slowly and stop your movements. Hinata looked back at Ryosuke who was approaching, and was a little silent. It's like a little beast that was injured but resisted the pain and didn't make a sound, which made people feel distressed. Although she has been patient and waiting for her to be strong, but seeing Hinata's appearance, Ryosuke couldn't help but get closer, and stretched out his palm to put it on her hair as usual. But this action, she turned her head to avoid it. The palm stopped in mid-air. Ryosuke looked a little astonished. "I'll find a way out." Taking a step back, Hinata stood in front of him and said calmly, "I will find a way for the main family and the branch house to reunite, and I will protect Hanabi." Since that night, after learning about Hyuga's system, she has realized it. Her relationship with her younger sister was about to split at the age of 4, as was her own father and the Hyuga Hisashi uncle. Why should a family be divided into two families? According to the mutual support system that Caged Bird protects the branch house, and the branch house protects the main family, Hinata can understand it intellectually, but she cannot accept it emotionally. Her eyes fixed on Ryosuke, very serious. But Ryosuke couldn't help but smile and nodded in response to her gaze and words. "Yes, our Hinata is very good, we will definitely be able to do it. Finally, I really grew up." There will be more updates later. I took 2 days off to code at home. I am not sure how many updates I can have today. I can only say that I will try my best to complete the 7 updates. End of this chapter. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.